Good night, good night, good night, Barbados. Good night, Caribbean. Good night, world. This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Weeks Show. We're coming to you live from Barbados, and it is an amazing night. It's a wonderful night, and tonight we are saying to people everywhere, open your mouth and speak out. Speak up and speak out is what we're saying, Rameem, tonight. Hey, Rameem, Anika Hope, though, was the first to join. Anika says, Grand Rising family. And I'm saying to us as a family, speak out. Open your mouth, speak out. Let us hear your voice. You have something to say. And that is, I'm sending my voice to the four corners of Barbados, to the east, the west, the north, the south. And I'm saying to Barbados, speak up. You're now up, Barbados. I can tell you're up. A lot of you are up. But it's time to open your mouth and to speak out. Open your mouth and speak out. Rameem is saying, good evening, loyal, patriotic opposition, forward ever. Let's keep the pressure on those good folks and restore BIM. Yes, yes. You know, there is a little Bible story that I want to tell you all tonight. Hey, Mr. Maximus, peace and blessing, faithful patriots. Yes, I love the fist. We're going to speak out, right, Mr. Maximus? Open your mouth, speak out, use your Facebook pages, use WhatsApp, use whatever you can, right? Oops, the wind just, there's a lot of wind up here. Yeah, but folks, speak out, please speak out. Carrie, hey, Carrie Fit Wilkinson, hey, Carrie, there's a little Bible story in 1 Samuel chapter 30. And it goes like this. When David, went out to war, and when he came back, the enemy had ravaged his home, taken his family, destroyed his family. They took not just his, but all the men in the kingdom, and they destroyed the families. And David and the men, they wept. They lost their wives and their children and their all of their livestock, and everything they owned was gone. And they went and they prayed to God, and they asked God, what should we do? Should we pursue them? And God told them, pursue them and recover all. Pursue them and recover all. And I'm saying to Barbados tonight, pursue them. Pursue them and recover all. Let's recover Barbados. Every length and breadth of it, the four corners of Barbados. Let's recover all tonight. That's what this is all about. We're going to recover all. We're going to open our mouths and we're going to speak out. We're not going to be afraid to speak out. You know, people say to me, aren't you afraid? You know, I'm still here. Caswell is speaking out. He's still here. Kimar is speaking out. He's still here. As the opposition. Hi, Mark Clark. As the opposition, we've got to open our mouths. We've got to speak, write articles. Some of you can write articles. Remember, we do not have an opposition in Parliament. You are it. You are it. It's you, Mark Clark. It's you, Jillian. It's you, Ace 787. It's you, Sir Alfred Benjamin. It is you. It's all about you. It's you. It's you. ADG. Good night says, good night, everyone. Yes, it's you. Wayne Hoyt, Mr. Hoyt, it's you. The recovery of Barbados depends on you. It's not on any politician. It is not on no politician. It is on you. Mr. Maximus, it's on you. It's you. You can make a difference. Anika, you can make a difference. You can. And you have to believe that. You have to open your mouth wide. Right? Open your mouth wide. One of the things that you can do is take a moment and share this link now. Everybody, take a moment and share the link. Take a moment, share the link. Don't give up in sharing. Yes, Mark. The only person to be afraid of is God. Huh? Once you say your prayers, you don't need to be afraid of anybody. Let me know if you're hearing me well. I can tell there seem to be a delay in the Wi-Fi tonight. So although the signal is saying it's strong. Hi, Marlene Seeley. Good night. Good night, Marlene. Marlene, you are it. It's about you, Marlene. It's about you making a difference in your country. It's about you standing up, Marlene. Everybody on here tonight, you will be held accountable. Tonight. And that is why we've launched a non-partisan strategy meeting this Saturday, because we're not going to march this Saturday. What we're going to do, we're going to be on Zoom. All right. So we're gonna tell you the Zoom before the night is up. The Zoom information will be put in the comment section for you. Okay. So we're gonna put the Zoom in the Zoom information there. We've launched this. This is going to be on Zoom because at this moment that's what, or we don't have the staff to do the physical coming together at this moment. But we're going to have that. We're going to have that. We're definitely going to have that. When we come together, we will decide on exactly when it will be our first one. Right? Yes. Hasbra, it's you. Open your mouth, Hasbra. Speak out. You are the opposition, Hasbra. Barbados is depending on you. Your country is depending on you, Hasbra. You can do it. Mystic Angel, you can do it. This is it now, guys. This is it. What's going to happen between now and the end of the year, because they know we're going to get distracted with independence and going into Christmas. This is a time that they're going to try to do a lot of things and pass a lot of bills. The child protection bill, which we hear from people overseas, UK, the lawyers in UK, in Australia, the lawyers in the US, they are telling us, be careful, Barbados, that's a dangerous bill. It's not just the Barbadians saying it's dangerous. It's not just the bar association that's saying it is dangerous. But it's also lawyers outside of Barbados, and they want to pass that before the year up. Do you see, Mystic Angel, that we can't sit down now? We have to rise up. We have to get militant now. We have to get militant. Dale, real. Good night to you, sir. But you have come into this place tonight where you're going to be held accountable. We're going to call you because you're part of the opposition. Once you've logged on, you're part of the opposition, and you've got to be able to open your mouth. Okay, let me know, Mystic, if or anybody out there, is there a delay in my speech? I'm seeing a delay on the screen, so if somebody could let me know if you're hearing me. Jillian, Aline, welcome. You are part of the opposition. You are welcome here. But listen, you're not here to sit on your hands. Tonight, we are untying your hands and we are untying the feet of the opposition. And we say, get going. Good night, comrades. I like that, Nigel Newton. That's what we are, comrades. Peace, wisdom, and decisive action be your constant traveling companion. Let me read that again. Peace, wisdom, and decisive action be your constant traveling companion. Oh, I love that. Don't you love that? Just read that a little bit. Read that a little bit and let that sink in. Nigel Newton, I love that. Nigel, it's your time. It is your time, the time of the opposition. Use your Facebook, use WhatsApp, use Instagram. Come on the Zoom on Saturday, right? When we're going to now begin to put together some strategy for all the different areas: education, the child protection bill, water. Okay, Mystic is telling me all is well in my audio. Thank you, Mystic. Yes, Clyde Yvonne, it's you. It's you. You are the opposition tonight. It's you. You've joined. You're part of it. It's on your shoulders. The government is on your shoulders. Tonight we untie the hands of the opposition. Those of you are sitting on your hands, you know, sit down on their hands and they lap their feet. They're scared. They don't want to do anything. But tonight we are untying your hands and we are untying your feet and we're untying your tongues. And you're going to open your mouth and you're going to speak. You're going to stand on what your ancestors have done and you're going to speak. You're going to speak. You're going to stand up like Massa and you're going to speak and you're going to say, if I perish, I perish. But you're going to recover your nation. Tyrone Nurse, good night, sir. You've logged on. You're part of the opposition. Ask yourself, what is it that I am going to do? Don't wait on the crowd. It's what am I? Tyrone, I'm talking to you, Tyrone Nurse. What is it that you're going to do about your country? How are you going to recover your country? This country needs recovery. Richard Miller, good night. Richard, you have joined and you're part of the opposition. You are part of the opposition. Yes, we're not marching this Saturday, but we're going to be on Zoom. That Zoom needs to be bursting with people. Right? We generally have 300 to 400 per night between Facebook, the 2 Facebook pages, and the YouTube. We should have near 500 people on the Zoom. When you get that Zoom link, share it and invite people to come onto the Zoom Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. We're going to split up in groups on Zoom and we're going to discuss and we're going to come up with strategy and we're going to come up with a to-do list. This is serious business. This is about the recovery of our nation. We're not going to leave it up to Caswell and up to Kimar. I know that Mr. Franklin wasn't well today, so I'm checking. I don't see him yet. Oh, just as I was going to check for him, he's in. Yes, Monica. Monica, I'm on fire tonight. The walls of Babylon must come down, Monica, and I must fight for our right to live. Monica, you are part of the opposition. It is you, Monica. It is you. You have a part to play. So tonight, I untie your hands and your feet and your tongue. You are going to fight. You're going to fight. This is serious. Yes. And when I say fight, I'm not talking about violence in the street. That's not the violence I'm talking about. I'm talking about you standing up, speaking out about the issues that concern you. And let the government know how you feel. If you don't speak up, who will? You are the opposition. It is you. It is all of us. It's not Caswell. It's not Kimar. It's not Maxine McLean who comes on here sometimes. It's not Dr. Ferdinand Nichols, who we will not see in another couple of weeks. He's traveling. Yeah. But tonight we untie hands and we untie feet. Anybody spiritual with me want to go up in that realm tonight? We untying hands and untying feet and untying tongues. The right people must be in position. Philip C is asking, how about Zoom at 7 p.m.? Wow, that's something we would have to think about, how to get that done. Zoom at 7 p.m. We'll have to think about that to see how that would work. Yes, Mystic, we're binding every evil spirit. I think Mr. Franklin is ready. Those of you who know to pray for Barbados. I tell you, the next couple of weeks in Barbados, between the rest of November and the end of December, watch what's going to happen. These people are very tricky. They're tricky, but God is wiser. God is wiser. Yes, Mr. Franklin, I think he's settled. Let me try to bring him in. Hi, General. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I just got home.
Just got in. Okay, good. So that means you're moving around.
Yeah, I had to go for a little bit. I couldn't stay um bed bung the whole day. That's
And
too unlike me.
too unlike you. As you said today, even snow knows that. But you know, Mr. Franklin, I'm speaking. I came on here with a fire in me speaking to the opposition tonight. And for everybody who comes on, I'm telling them Sharon Kane just came on, and I'm letting them know, Sharon Kane, that you guess what? If they are the opposition and they must open their mouths and speak out, because we don't have anybody in parliament, we don't have anybody in the Senate, you know, and encouraging them not to be afraid to open their mouth, don't sit on their hands, don't lap their feet and decide they're not going to do anything, but to speak out. You know, and I see the point I was making, I missed the point. The point I was making is that I spoke to you today. You weren't well, but here you are. You open your computer and you came on tonight. And that's what I'm saying to them. They can't wait on somebody to be their savior. They have to get up and do it. Right, Mr. Franklin?
Yes, each one counts. You see, when you have people sitting back and waiting for somebody else to do it for them, the government and any tyrant loves that type of behavior. They they can ride roughshod over everybody, but if you stand up, they keep telling people when you are together, they can't break you. When they see numbers of people standing up, they get scared because we have had elections in Barbados that have been won by one vote. I remember Stevie Smith won by one vote at one time, and then going after lost an election by one vote. And of course, they took that to court, and the court ruled that the election was not free and fair, and they had to do it over, and then he won. Oh, right. But one vote makes a difference, and they know that. But when they see the numbers 10, 15, 20, 30 people standing up, they get scared, especially when it means that they're not going to get their pension. When they don't have the 12 years or to get the full pension or the 8 years to get half, they stand up. And we must make them treat us with respect. Marcy, one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight was this
Yes.
national insurance amendment bill.
Yes.
People who came on this program would remember that they said to us
Yes.
when we complained that the government was taking over the role of the National Insurance Board and that the Prime Minister would be able to advise the Minister of Finance how to invest national insurance funds. And bearing in mind that the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance is one and the same person, we thought that that was a travesty. And we brought it to the attention of the people here.
Yes.
Then the next day we went on brass tacks. And we did it all over again. And that what happened. Leslie Haynes, who is the chairman of the National Insurance Board, he sprang into action on brass tacks, and he
I
said
remember.
it was an error, and they're gonna have to go back to Parliament and fix it. And there are a
Yes.
few other errors. Well, they haven't fixed it. And I checked with some people in Parliament to see if they hadn't updated the website, and because they could have put the amendment in place and didn't put it on the website, not to do anything. But I checked, and it has not been circulated. They have not sent any bill. They have not sent anything, but yet still they are going ahead and implementing the National Insurance Amendment Act. And they said before the act, they have to do these amendments because it was a mistake. He said he said, anybody that don't make mistakes. He said that. It was not a mistake. We know now that it was not a mistake. We know, and I will say boldly, we know he was lying. I don't like using words like he was misleading. He was lying, and he knew he was lying because 4 months prior to that bill coming out, he said to the Barbados today that is what they intended to do, and I have that on my iPad, and I can share it with anybody who wants to see it. He said so. So we have now to tell them, wait. We can't trust your word now anymore. Yes, Marcia, you got it. He said it was a mistake. There's no mistake because they're ignoring it and going along because the only reason they're rush out there because their dirty deeds were exposed. When we exposed them there, they don't want people to know what they were doing. That is not the way to run an open government. That is not. We are not supposed to be deceiving the people who elect you, and that is what the government is doing. And the people of Barbados must stand up because for every time they do something like this, and you don't get away with it, it emboldens them to do more and to do even worse things. You got to call them on it. What they have done now. What they have done, they have sent out documents to staff at National Insurance without any lawful authority to do so because the board of National Insurance don't employ anybody at National Insurance. As a matter of fact, they can't. Mind you, they have broken the law and employed some people and called them board posts, which is contrary to law. They had no authority in law to hire anybody, but they did. Then, these people are employed by the president, acting on the advice of the commission. They call it the Administrative General and Professional Service Commission these days. It used to be called Public Service Commission, but you know, they like to change things. Bar called it Public Service Commission, so she had to call it something else. And so National Insurance Board has no right communicating with somebody else's staff, telling them nonsense. But it has happened and over again. What will happen to these people now? They will get letters saying that they were released from the public service. There is no such thing. There's no such thing in law in Barbados right now as releasing from the public service. You can leave the public service in a number of ways. You can die, so they cannot stop you from leaving in that case. You can retire, or you can resign, or you can be dismissed.
One second, Mr. Franklin. They're saying that you're sounding a little muffled. Are you near a fan?
Yeah, but I was hearing the noise before the fan. Let me change it off and see what happens. Just give me 1 second.
Okay. All right. Let me take off your mic and folks, you know what Mr. Franklin is speaking about. What are your thoughts about that? The fact that we were told nationally on the radio after this issue was brought on this show, okay, that they are intending, it seems as though the state was now in charge of the NIS. The NIS basically is a state, it's the government and the Minister of Finance, and they came out and they said it was a mistake and that they were going to fix it. Do you remember that? All 204 of you Barbadians, did you remember that? Well, they have gone ahead and there have been no amendment to the bill. And I'm asking the goodly opposition that is on here tonight, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? I say use your WhatsApp, use your Facebook. Don't be afraid. Call brass tacks tomorrow about this. Let the nation know. Let me see if Mr. Franklin is ready to come back in again.
I changed headset. I changed things. I'm still hearing the noise and my fan isn't on. I was hearing it before I turned on the fan. So right. it isn't coming from my.
It sounds clearer to me now, but keep going. Let me see Glenn and those
But
of you listening.
I'm still hearing like the fan blowing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but it isn't mine because mine is off.
Okay. All right. Let me turn off my mic and tell me if you're still here. Okay.
I'm not hearing it. No, no, I'm not hearing it now.
It's me. All right. So I will
Mm-hmm.
get that. I'll get that fixed. Keep talking. I'm gonna get it fixed.
All right. So what they would have done now, what they will do, and what they did with people from the what they call the legacy agencies that form BRA, land tax, inland revenue, party licensing authority. What they did with them is to kick them out of the public service illegally because you the only way they can get out of the public service is if they dismiss you. They didn't dismiss you. They said you're released. There's no such thing in law. But because the big jefe, the big chief, says that this is what they're going to do, public officers bend over backward, breaking the law to accommodate the government's bad behavior. And that is what is going on right now. And people are going to be thrown into all kinds of difficulties simply because government does not accept any bounds. There's a law in place, and they're supposed to follow the law. No, the IMF tells them to do something, so they don't care what the laws of Barbados say. The IMF says jump, and they jump. And
Yeah.
as a result, the people of this country now are being ruled by the IMF. Everything in this country that you see, even our raising of our taxes now, if they were taken down ill-advisedly before, I know the IMF telling them carry them back up, and that's what they had to do. Because we are not in charge of Barbados. The people in Barbados voted for a government that does not run this country.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the problem we are having right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Barbadians have to stand up, or next thing you know, we will lose our country. We're losing it fast because right now there are very few spaces that Barbadians can get to buy. And I saw Dugade saying that he's going to give people land or sell people land or whatever he's going to do with it up in St. Philip. It's not prime land. It's not prime property. Prime property goes to the people overseas that will come in and buy up the land that Barbadians were on. You had people living on the coast. As a boy growing up, we had chattel houses and stuff on the coast. What happened with those houses? The somebody built a hotel next door, and then the government decided, okay, we're going to get rid of those people off the land because they don't look good with it around the hotels. And they kept those people's properties astronomically, their land tax. People can afford to live on their own land. So that's why you see no business, few businesses own coastal land now. So we are being run by IMF and people outside of Barbados that tell our government what and how to do things. And if we are not careful, we will wake up one day and find that Barbados is no longer ours.
Yes. Yes. The question on the screen here is what are Bajans going to do about this? And I'm hoping that we're not hearing the wind anymore. There's a lot of wind in St. Philip, and so I'm hoping my mic isn't picking that up anymore.
No, we're not
Okay, I
hearing it
hope
now.
we can. Right. Okay. Yeah. The question is, what are we going to do about this? And because we brought it up on the program, and when it was brought up on the program, we were told that it was going to be amended. And I want to know from us Barbadians, what are we doing about what Leslie Haynes said to us? This is what he said to us. Why has there been a change? Why isn't he saying why are they doing what he said? Is it that it's already amended, probably, and we're not aware of it, Mr. Franklin? Is that a possibility?
No, it wasn't amended because as much secret work that the government does, it cannot pass a secret law in Barbados. Not a substantive, not an amendment to legislation. It has to go to the Senate, it has to go to the House. That amendment has not gone anywhere. So we can take it for granted that they were lying to us. That was not a mistake. They intended to make sure they put their hands on the National Insurance Fund and to make sure that Barbadians don't have a say, or the board of the National Insurance does not have a say in how the money is invested. They are going to rip us off. You think, and what do you think the made of the amendment? Nothing was wrong with the law because Rawdon Adams on the Brass Stocks program on the Sunday said it was that the National Insurance was well managed. And if it was well managed, why are you going to undo that well management and change it to something else? It was well managed. Rawdon Adams is the deputy chairman of the National Insurance Board, and he was saying to the public of Barbados on Brass Stocks Sunday, no, you don't have nothing to worry. National Insurance was well managed. Now, if it was well managed, you know the Americans have this saying: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Not good English, but you know you understand the idea. National insurance systems were not broken. Why did the government seek to fix them when nothing was wrong with them? According to their own deputy chairman, nothing was wrong with it. You know why? It was more difficult for government to get their hands on national insurance money legally. Now, with those amendments, they can, because they don't have to compromise people on the board anymore to get their hands on the money. Because in order to get national insurance money, you had to get a recommendation from the board and all kind of stuff, but no, the board wouldn't have no input to how national insurance money is going to be invested. So even before there was a board in place, they were saying, "Oh, we're going to be sending $40 million US." You remember?
Yeah.
You remember that? Yeah. This is the government made that decision without going through the due diligence, without going through any sort of due diligence. They just decided they're going to send that kind of money because national insurance now funds are in the hands of government through the IMF, through the government.
You see, and that's what people need. Somebody's asking here, will the behavior of the government lead to a national strike? Now, the thing is, that is up to the people because, the unions, as we've said, have also been sold out, right? And they are marching to the beat of the government. The question is, what can we do? And this is one of the things that we're going to come together on Saturday morning in that non-partisan strategy meeting to determine what we're going to do. There are many things that's affecting this country, and we're gonna come back to this towards a little later in the show. I don't want us to leave this because this here, Barbados, it will set a precedence that they could come and they could in a bold-faced way to lie. And then what are we to do? Just sit down and shut your mouth and you do nothing about it? That's not correct. That's not correct.
Sit down and take it. Marcia, I'm going to turn my camera for a few seconds, for a few minutes.
Yes.
Yes,
no problem. Well, we have Mr. Wayne Blakely is here with us, and Caswell is here, but he's going to join us a little later. And I'm going to ask you to continue sharing. And we're going to shift gears a little bit tonight, and we're going to talk about the LGBTQ agenda and its impact on the family, and what we have to do about it as a nation. As you know, there are many laws that are being passed at this moment, even with the child protection bill, where a lot of parents are concerned about that bill. whether or not, through that bill, their children will be forced, well, not that their children will be forced, but that they will be forced to go ahead with whatever the child is saying and the state is saying about the child, especially in the area of gender, etc. I mean, you would have known what has happened to Praise Academy with our production that we did, where the production was disqualified at NIFCA, okay, because it was speaking about gender and speaking about it from the perspective of the Bible and science. And so tonight, I have one of my, I'm going to call him my friends that I met in Poland. And he's Mr. Wayne Blakely, and he is from Know His Love Ministry. And in that ministry, it's a ministry for people who are who came out of that lifestyle. And I think it's very important to hear from him tonight. So I'm going to welcome him, and I want you to listen very keenly to him tonight. So let's welcome Mr. Wayne Blakely from Know His Love Ministries. Good night, sir.
Hi, Marcia. So good to see you again. A long distance away, but not as far away as Poland.
No, not at all, not at all. I'm remembering all of that wonderful food we were eating.
Yes.
There in Poland. It was quite delicious. They love the pork. They did the pork in all kinds of different ways, right?
They do, but I'm vegetarian, so I didn't eat any of that. But they had a lot of salad and a lot of other good things to eat as well.
Yes. I had some pork. I had a lot of salad though. In the evening, so dinner there was so much salad. But I did have some pork because I love to eat what is the national, whatever is there that's a national food dish.
Yes.
Yeah. And did you get any of the dumplings?
Any of the what?
Did you try any of the dumplings?
We did, but by the time we got any, we were at the airport. So, but they were good even at the airport. So.
Yes, very delicious, very, very delicious. Well, we are home back in our different countries. You're in the USA. I'm in Barbados.
Right.
We've left the excuse me. We've left the conference, but
yes.
We are back in our countries battling these issues. We continue to battle them. We think of what has happened to the children here in Barbados, which we're going to touch on that a little later. But I want you to talk to us, Mr. Blakely, about your journey out of the LGBTQ lifestyle. Can you just talk to us very briefly? We have 30 minutes to this entire section, but just talk to us very briefly about that.
Okay. Well, I was raised in a Christian environment. I kind of put it out there to begin with. And as far as I'm concerned, without Jesus, you can do whatever you want. It's only when we go to scripture or to a belief system, God, giving a prescription to us for life and counsel to us for life, that we would begin to deny ourselves. The Bible asks us to deny ourselves for Jesus Christ and into a more pure way of living. But when I grew up, we weren't having these conversations, and same-sex attraction can be established on multiple number of ways. The most common way is through either sexual abuse or physical abuse. 82% of those in the LGBT community are there because they suffered this abuse. They have not always wanted to acknowledge that, and didn't acknowledge that. They would deny that those things that caused homosexuality or whatever, even transgenderism for that matter, until the Me Too movement began. And when women began to say, look, this happened to me, and I'm going to tell you about it, whether this person admits that they're the perpetrator of it or not. And when they began to do that, then the LGBT community began to say, oh, me too. I also, have experienced abuse in my life.
So hold a minute, Mr. Blakely, just hang on. So you're saying that Did you say 82% of those in the LGBTQ community that they have experienced abuse? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, either sexual or physical abuse.
Sexual or physical abuse. So but that's something that I learned at the the conference in Poland,
Yeah.
how trauma is connected to that, and usually it's connected to trauma.
Yes, so
Some kind of
often the
trauma.
LGBT person wants to say, I was born this way, because and I call that the organic way that it happened. Like for someone as old as me, 100 years old as I am, you go back that far, and there are those kinds of things. Today, it's not just abuse that contributes towards it, but now it's peer pressure, and it's social media, and it's an invitation to try this before you decide you're that kind of attitude. And so in the Christian community, we would say Satan really doesn't care how he gets you, as long as he gets you. So if we go back to the Garden of Eden and we look at the deception that was laid there. Snakes don't talk. Well, suddenly, Eve is somewhere she shouldn't have been, and a serpent is talking to her, and it's like, wow, if that fruit does that, brings about this, then I'm going to have some of that fruit. So we so often live by our feelings, what makes us feel good, but often that will have consequences. So you can imagine when you're young, and now this is being taught in schools all over the world, even to kindergartners now. In fact, there's one kindergarten I know aware of that where the teachers will leave the room so that the children can explore one another sexually. It is just rampant. Yes, the things that are happening are just.
Where is that? Which state is that?
Well, it's not in a state. I believe that this is in Germany. I would have to double check the facts on that. But I know that this was brought to my attention that this is one of the things that's been recently happening. I would have to go back and find out exactly the source of where that's happening. But it wasn't the first time that I had heard that, because now, even in the United States, LGBTQ history is becoming a mandated part of history in the school's education system. And that's happened, I know, at least in the state of New Jersey and in other states where LGBTQ history is taught. And you don't have a right as a parent to tell them that they can't teach this. So it's really crazy what's happening. But when, again, I put this under the magnifying glass, of Christianity, I have to decide whether my feelings are my guide or the truth. To me, it's the faith and the truth of Jesus Christ. Well, I'm learning more today about that than I did. I didn't, when I was younger, I really didn't know what to do with my feelings. And so I followed my feelings, and I ended up living in the LGBT community for 40 years. The church didn't
How
seem
many
to have
years?
40.
40 years. 40 years. Wow.
12 years of that was in male prostitution, not street side, but through the erotic massage business. And so I was very deluded. I was looking for Mr. Right, but generally settling for Mr. Right now. And I didn't find, I think God and the prayers of my parents kept me from settling into a relationship that was long-term. And there are some long-term relationships. Most of them involve other people being involved in the bedroom scene. I've never discovered, really a significant statistic that shows that monogamy is there as it is to be in a heterosexual relationship. LGBT community will argue, well, heterosexuals are not true to their spouses either. So which one does God approve of? He doesn't approve of either one. So God's not in the business of bartering. And so, it's important that we look, to the model and to the call and the invitation of Jesus in Scripture. God is not a forceful God. He's an invitational God. And so to LGBT people who are activists today, I would say you fought long and hard to have your voice. But now that you have your voice, it's very disrespectful and unethical for you to seek to take the voices of other people away from them. And in the United States, we would want to protect the right of human rights and the right of religious freedom. And those are being threatened today. If I bring up the term conversion therapy, some people know what that is or think they know what that is, and other people have been indoctrinated into believing something about conversion therapy that's not true. So some people think that involves shock therapy, immersion into ice cold baths, and all these aversive style techniques, which have not happened for 60 or 70 years. Now, yes, there were some things that were done that were harmful to individuals. So I wouldn't advocate for that. I do advocate for a position of coming to live in agreement with what my faith is. And my faith is asking me to live in agreement with God instead of with culture and what my friends might be telling me to do. So, I think that the prayers of my parents, held me over the years, kept me from getting AIDS. I'm HIV negative. All of my friends, none of my friends saw 50 years old. So I'm nearly 20 years beyond that. I don't have a single friend that identified as LGBT that's still living. So it has been quite a journey for me. Now it's been 14 years since I came back to live for Christ. And when I came back into the church, it was really odd. I thought, well, you were the ones that were pointing at me and yelling or whispering about me and making me feel odd so that I went into the gay community. Now that I've come back in, now many churches are deciding, oh, well, we just need to love people. Well, we do need to love people, but it needs to be with the love as defined by Jesus Christ, not love as we describe it, which can include all kinds of things that can be particularly harmful. And so it's, for instance, if you have somebody, a guy and a girl who are married, and let's say the guy commits adultery and he's your son, you don't stop loving him, nor do you approve of the behavior that he participated in. So it should be okay for us to have a different opinion than our gay son or daughter or cousin or mother or father and say, well, I still love you, but I'm not engaging in or approving of the behavior that you choose because that's not part of my belief system.
Yeah. So you're saying that now that you have come up through God's help, I'm not even going to say you came out of that, but through God's help, and I'm sure counseling and therapy, you came out of that lifestyle that you were in for 40 years.
So here's kind of an interesting part about that. Pastors are generally not trained in mental health issues. So let's look at conversion therapy. It's a made up term by the LGBT community to say that these things are being done, when truly, if we dissect this, conversion is done by the Holy Spirit. That's not anything neither you nor I can do. That is something that's brought on by the Holy Spirit. Therapy is done by a mental health specialist. So when I came to Christ and I gave my life over to Christ, I was glad the church was there. It's a place where we can come and we can worship God together and study scripture. But I brought a lot of baggage with me. I was suffering from things that I had participated in, the lustful life that I had lived, the trauma involved in my childhood. And so a pastor wasn't prepared to sit down and sort all that out. But people who are mental health counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists and even some pastoral Christian counseling can be of great benefit to that person. So it's been a combination of Christ and psychology that has, even to this day, that helps me in my walk today. Simply because I gave my life over to Jesus Christ doesn't mean that same-sex attraction went away or that I haven't experienced failure since I have come back to Christ. Often those who are skeptical or critical, including the LGBT community, they think you're putting yourself up on some pedestal and that you're perfect. Far from it. I seek to live and want more of the righteousness of Jesus Christ in me, but we also know that we have sinful natures, and of course you may end up having failure. Jesus doesn't abandon you. Let's hope that mankind doesn't abandon you either. But unfortunately, this is a very difficult conversation to have these days. And while it's difficult, at the same time, it's now being taught and forced by LGBT communities and activists, and even through governmental agencies, where it's now the LGBT community is successful now at criminalizing therapy in 25 countries around the world and 22 of the 50 United States.
And this is because I saw where in Malta, for example, they don't want people to leave the community. So and it is a problem if you try to
Yes.
to counsel somebody out of that community, then they've made it a crime. But look at you, look at what God has done for you through prayer, through the Holy Spirit, through therapy, through your own self-determination as well, because you have to also make up your mind, to come out of there. Yeah.
So what we're having, this conversation that we're having right now, is similar to the one that Matthew Grech had in Malta. And when this recording was finished, a lesbian LGBT activist was directed to watch his testimony, and she watched it and said, well, that makes me feel dirty and degraded. And so she went to the police department. The police department says, oh, yep, you're right. He's in breach of conversion therapy laws. And so now they've placed a charge on him that he has broken the law of conversion therapy simply by sharing his testimony. And they want to put him in prison. And now in Malta, the jail time is probably the least of what I've ever heard as far as these laws go. He would go to prison for 5 months with a 5,000 euro fine. Now they're dragging this thing out. It started in June or even before June, but they delayed it and delay it. And now it's been delayed again. There's been 2 hearings, but the third one is not scheduled to the end of January. Matthew needs our prayers. The IFTCC, which is the International Federation of Therapeutic Counseling Choice, is under fire. These are people who are not forcing anything. They're taking people who are coming to them as willing clients and said, hey, I want to leave the LGBT community. It's not for me. I have not found the joy and peace that I thought I would find. I want to leave it. And so I would like to receive some counseling. Can you help me? And Christian counselors or other counselors will even help a person achieve the goals that they set for themselves. And that those goals are common in psychology and in counseling. You seek to help a person achieve the goals that they set for themselves. So that's a common human right, which nobody should destroy.
Yeah. Now, we talk about the laws in Malta, and it's because of those laws why that person, who would have gone to the police and complained, because it was just like an interview like we're having here today.
Yes.
Much like what happened to the children. This is the
Yes.
picture here of Praise Academy, where they just presented their beliefs, and on that
Yes.
show, that gentleman in Malta was just sharing his beliefs. But the laws in Malta forbids him to do that, and says if you
Right.
do that, then you could go to jail. Now, I want to talk to you quickly about how important it is for us here in the Caribbean, Barbados. We're in Barbados, but we're part of the Caribbean, to take note of the kinds of laws that are being instituted concerning LGBTQ and sexual orientation, etc., in our countries. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as citizens,
can you repeat? I think it's sticking up. It's sticking
going on that are,
can you hear?
Yeah, my screen went blank.
No, he's not. I'm not hearing him. He's frozen.
He's frozen. Well, Wayne, if you can hear us, Mr. Blakely, and you could leave and come back in. Leave and come back in. Can we? Yeah. so if Wayne is hearing us and he could leave and come back in. You know, it's quite interesting, you know, Miss, I don't know if you were listening, Mr. Franklin,
Yeah, I
to
was
what
listening
the
to
gentleman
I
is
was listening
saying.
to every word. You know, and that law will become effective in Barbados soon enough, you know, because we are taking instructions from outside. And I don't know, you know, we have freedom to speak. But now if you offend that movement, because it is not a class, it is not a community, I don't know what to call it, because it is not defined. It's not properly defined. It's L for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and Q, so queer. It's not a because each of these is either male or female.
Yeah, well, he to just hang on there. Let's see that. Then we're going to get back. I hope you don't lose your thought there, Mr. Franklin.
No,
Yeah, but Mr. Blakely, thank you for joining us again. And for those of you who are just joining us, this is Wayne Blakely, and he is just sharing with us how through God, through prayer, through therapy, counseling, you know, he is able to gloriously say that he's left the LGBTQ community and living the way that God intends him to live. And we are so happy to have you sharing. And we were talking about how dangerous it is for us in the Caribbean region to you know,
Yeah.
to open up ourselves to these different laws, because look at what's happening in Malta, where people
Yes.
can't even decide if you decide you want to come to somebody who wants to leave the lifestyle, you could go to jail. Here in Barbados, they tell us we're discriminating because the children, they say I am a boy and I am a girl and there are only two genders. So how, you know, what about these laws? How seriously should we take them?
Well, so yeah, so now, Marcia, what they're doing is they're discriminating against you. So I don't, this makes no sense. I'm not sure how the laws read in Barbados, but I would say a citizen there, you need to get involved with city council. You need to make sure that your human rights are upheld and your religious freedoms to choose to believe.
Yeah, we're
Um,
yeah, we're having trouble with his internet. The internet. We're having some challenges with
guaranteed wages.
Wayne's. Yeah, we're having some challenges with the Wi-Fi, with your Wi-Fi. But you know, this has been so such an important session. Can you hear us, Wayne?
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
I
So
hear you.
you're hearing us, and you were saying that you weren't sure about our laws here. Well, in the constitution, the new constitution that we are going to have, right, Caswell, there is a lot of push about sexual orientation and about us being what they call it, gender. I can't remember the actual term that is used in gender neutral, that the law itself, the constitution would be gender neutral. Is that it? And there's a whole thing about sexual orientation and about discrimination and so on. And so a lot of us are concerned about that, you know. Caswell,
Yes.
can you say anything about the new constitution and as it relates to the LGBTQ
no,
agenda?
well, this constitution that we are using, that we are trying to form now, is all designed to capture this gay rights thing. That's why you remember they had the Charter of Barbados first.
Mhm.
That is the forerunner to the Constitution, and we can see from that document what they were planning to do. Even the priests on the and that group was saying we're taking out God from the Constitution and saying that we should have some person rather than God, our Creator, the Creator. You know, that he's too embarrassed to say God.
Yeah.
You know,
the priest. The
yeah, the
priest.
priest.
Yes.
Yeah,
This
he
is
was
John
agreeing. Rogers. You know, he gets up and he preaches every Sunday in his church, but yet still he is telling the people that we should be this thing should be gender neutral and right now it is God neutral too. You know, but because you don't want to say God, you don't want to say Jehovah, you want to say the Creator. We know who the Creator is. The Creator is God. So we don't say why you gotta go and find some other means of saying it. You know, because we are trying to fit in to something that is not within our culture, but not within our experience. It is somebody else's experience that they want to impose on us, and we are happy to jump in the ring with them because they provide funding and they provide the lobbying to get them into various international agencies, including the United Nations. And that is our biggest problem. You mentioned, like, for instance, gender neutral. What is gender neutral? I don't know what that is because.
But that is something that was I saw in the new constitution. Go ahead, Mr. Blakely. Mr. Blakely, can you do us to try something for us? If you turn turn off your camera, can you turn off your camera and keep your microphone on? We can still hear you because what you have to say is so important. Yeah. We don't want to miss it. Yes, let's try that. Go ahead, please.
So something today, you know, they talk about gender fluidity, and now there's gender neutrality, where the operations that are being done now, they remove persons' nipples, their breasts, their penis, their vagina, and so they are actually nothing but skin to toe, and they have no gender specific at all. These are operations that are being done today, and physicians are not going to court with malpractice suits, but this would be gender neutrality.
Wow. So they're making people, they are medically making people genderless.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you can't make some person genderless. You can mutilate them, but you will never be genderless.
You
were
can
born
try.
with a gender.
Yeah. Right. The chromosomes will always say what gender they are. And so, you know, even scientists and physicians are, you know, to scripture again, you know, trustworthy scripture. And I find today people are trying to eliminate Jesus or eliminate God and take the place of God themselves. And I must go back and say the word is trustworthy. God is almighty. He is our creator. And he says from the beginning that he created them male and female. There are only two genders.
And you know that is actually what Praise Academy was saying at what you just said there. You know, Mr. Blakely, is what this group was saying at NIFCA, that there are only two genders, and that they're saying no to transgender education. They don't want to be taught that in school. They say no to all of these different things, that they are male and female. No, and they had a problem with that. They disqualified them.
Yeah. So suddenly culture is now deciding what will be taught. It's no longer coming from what has been known for all throughout the years. Historically, people are wanting to change, rewrite history and rewrite scripture as though they have the authority to do that based on a trend. Now, we've already been able to see from people who have had surgeries done, who where, you know, these surgeries that are done are mutilating surgeries. They often cause sterilization. The hormones cause sterilization. When you get in the mayhem of the aftermath. John Hopkins did a study showing that 49% of those who have transgender surgeries consider suicide, and 39% are successful. But nobody is talking about the extinction, the life, you talk about Christianity making somebody have suicidal ideations, whereas these ideas of cutting people up, nobody's talking about how those are successful at bringing about suicide and the great damage that's done to them, both physically and mentally, that's permanent.
Wow, 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 wow. Because you're saying that so many, and I learned that in Poland as well, how many of the those that have gone through these surgeries, that they are having these ideas of suicide. They go through they become suicidal, and but they don't want to, speak about that. We've had several suicides here in Barbados among young people. And I happen to know, because some of our young people know them, there were two of those that were connected to the LGBTQ lifestyle, and by the grace of God, there was going to be a third, but thankfully, that person got counseling. Because when there's a lot of that within that community, and they want to blame the church and blame, but these that happened had nothing to do with the church, right here in Barbados. But it goes back to
Right.
what you say at the beginning,
Right.
that over 82% of those in the LGBTQ community, that they suffer abuse, whether sexual or physical abuse. And that says to me that they need some kind of therapy and help. They need counseling.
Yes. And that should be available to anyone who desires to have such counseling. And it's odd to me that the criminalization of having a different opinion other than the narrative, the today, because it's a one-way narrative. It's only okay for somebody to say that it's happening just because somebody wants them. Someone who is under the age of, I would go as far to say as probably, in their 20s, is not really fully ready to make a decision. There's often, even in my own youth, I was gender dysphoric until I was like 21 years old. And I thought that I was in the wrong body. I was sure that God had made a mistake. But, when I became an adult and I understood more about myself, and later I would become, more educated as it related to, what God's desire and plan for me is. If I had one of those surgeries done, and they are done in the U.S., they now threaten to take kids away from their parents if their parents disagree with their 6 or 7-year-old child who is wanting to be female, who's male. I mean, they're in no position at that age to be making that kind of decision. Plus, with much more education for the parents and for the child, they would maybe come to a different conclusion other than these fatalistic type of things that are being done on a whim.
Yeah. We only have a couple minutes left into this interview, and I'm thinking, I need to invite you back to talk about the whole thing of therapy and counseling, because I think that sometimes people feel that people cannot come out of that lifestyle, and that want because they're pushing the narrative that you're born this way. And
Right.
I pray that we be able to get
Yeah.
the Wi-Fi would be stronger, because I think your testimony, you being here, and we're seeing that you have changed. I would love for you to be able to come back and to talk with us. But before you go, I want to ask you the two things I want to ask you to speak to these young people. Speak to what would you say to young people in Barbados today about
Yes.
the LGBTQ lifestyle? and speaking up against it? What would you say?
So I go back to again a position of God's desire and plan for us, and as students and of participants in this program have witnessed, there are many things that may come up against you. And from a Christian perspective, and you look at the life of Christ and his ministering to others, even when he was healing and doing such wonderful things and showing love to people, he was spit upon. He was, they had great things against him. And so I want to say to you, do not cave in to the lies and to the majority that may be against you, but to hang on to the fact that you have value, you have meaning, you have purpose. Your identity is in Jesus Christ. Your identity is not in a sexual orientation. God is asking for us to be oriented to him, not towards sex. We have made sex our God. And so for young people, if you can trust in the word of God, familiarize yourself with the promises that Jesus offers us, have a good supportive church community, a good supportive friends, other believers who will walk with you through this journey, and know that you are ambassadors for Jesus Christ, and that what you're doing matters. And so now is not a time to quit, because people are taking note, and they will make sure that your voice is heard. And so do not cave into or be offended by the opposition that you're facing.
Yes, wow, powerful, and I'm going to make sure that they hear this, hear what you said to them tonight, and if they are, and all of us can take that that encouragement to speak out and to stand strong. My very last question, in half a minute, can you just tell us a little bit about the movie that you are embarking on right now? I know we
Yes.
see the one about the woman, what it's called, about what is a woman, and so it's a similar kind of movie in that vein, and you're doing a movie that is similar. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so for the last year and a half, so I've been in an ex-gay ministry for 14 years now. For 12 years of that, I believed these lies that were coming, that harm was being done. And in my research over these 2 years, I have not found a single incident of someone who has gone to a psychologist, an outed psychologist or psychiatrist, in other words, to verify that these things happened, that there were adverse things that would happen. I hear complaints, but I don't. And so I found that really what's being taken down is the right to be able to go and have a conversation with a counselor, a Christian or otherwise, if it has anything to do with living differently than how you feel. And so I wanted to take the idea of conversion therapy and dissect it and say, let's really truly look at this, because conversion therapy is a made-up term. Let's go to what's really at stake here, and that is somebody's given right to have talk therapy and to make decisions based on what they want for their own lives. And so I've conducted multiple interviews on, and so I hope to have this film out by this time next year, to thoroughly unwrap this and to talk to therapists, to talk to people that's been through therapy, who have changed lives, and to really take a look, even talking to people who have an opposite opinion of that of mine, because it should not be a one-way conversation. It needs to include both people.
Yeah. Well, we wish you all the very best in that, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to Barbados at some time, and we'll talk some more about that. But I don't know, Caswell, is there any comment you want to make or any questions for Mr. Blakely, before he goes?
No, not really. I just wanted to make a comment about some things that were coming down in the chat. But when he was speaking, because someone wrote that they're now saying it is no chest feeding, not breastfeeding anymore. And they want to change everything. Remember, they're also talking about, they're calling mothers birthing people, because we want to make everything so ridiculous. And so what he could probably talk about, if he has the time, is to talk about the change in the language to make it more palatable for
Mm-hmm.
for people to accept it. It's the change in the terms.
Yes. Mr. Blakely, do you have a few minutes to talk about the change in the language, what Mr. Franklin just mentioned?
Yeah, I sure. Well, I think that again, it has to do with activism and a trend of people wanting to reconstitute. I mean, today they're having, people are talking about side A, side B, side X, side Y, all these things, which really, if we went back and have the conversation that based upon medical knowledge that's always been there across time, sociology, physiologically, medicine, all these things. There was nothing wrong with our language. Now the language is being hijacked by an activist group to bring about change that is determined, the changes that are being determined by a minority group. Let's take a look again at the population of the LGBT community. Is it's debatable, but it's certainly I would put it between 10 and 15% of the world population. Some may put it slightly higher, and there's certainly those who want to put it a whole lot lower than that. That How is it that component of society is having such impact in government today, based on feelings, not on facts? Because there is no gay gene, there is no biology, there is no science that backs up how a person is feeling. Now, there's certainly conditional things, but that's when we should take a look at what's happening, to a person early in their lives, what maybe happened to them prenatally. In my case, my birth mother didn't want a boy, and she was clear about that during her pregnancy, and post pregnancy, she was very upset that she did have a boy. She broke my arm in 2 different places before I was 2 years old. So that's not going to have a very strong, uh, impact on me in wanting to go and engage with women. I mean, obviously that did serious damage, which I headed the opposite direction. But the language is, to answer your question, is I think I don't know that we really need to have more language that is detracting from the language that was already in place, that was plenty good up until this point. It's only been the activism that has been insisting on these changes of terms. And with the changes of terms, I just see that what's happening is a greater reign of chaos and confusion.
Yeah. Wow. He's so right, Mr. Franklin. There was nothing wrong before, but they want to make sure, as you said, to make sure they want it to be acceptable. And then they're forcing the terms on us. And when we don't follow the terms, if I say I am not, as the young man in the Praise Academy production, he says, I am not transgender and I am not cisgender. I am not any of those things and I don't want to be. If I say that, then they say, what? You're discriminating because I say I'm not
Yeah.
those things. Isn't that something?
And that just by not wanting to be those things that you're being hateful. It's not hateful at all. It's just making your own personal decision. Somebody else, I respect if somebody wants to be LGBTQ, that's your decision. That's your choice. I'm not going to tell you that you can't do that, but I am asking that you would respect my choice, that I don't care to live in the LGBT community, and I would like to live a life in my walk abiding in Jesus Christ.
But the thing is, what they end up doing is discriminating against people who want to follow the path you're following now, right? Because they're discriminating against you now.
Yes.
So they are complaining about discrimination, but they don't have a difficulty discriminating against other people who are straight, as they
That's
call
right.
them.
And when the government supports that, we really have a problem.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. And so, as somebody said, we all of these laws need to be challenged, and this is why we're saying tonight we have to speak out, we have to speak up, we have to remove our hands, we have to untie our hands, untie our feet, and we have to get to work. We have to move. It's so important. I just want to thank you, Mr. Blakely. Wow, this is so interesting. We could keep talking, but we will talk and
Yeah.
arrange for you to come back another time. Most definitely. Hope you can come down in
Thank you. It's
December.
been a pleasure to be here.
Yes, thank you so much,
Thanks
Mr.
so much
Blakely.
for having
God
me,
bless you.
Marcia.
Yes, thank
God bless
you.
you guys
God bless
too.
you. Yes, bye bye. Quite interesting, Mr. Franklin, and that was a great question you asked about the language, because that's really that's what our children were saying. It was saying they were rejecting the language.
But you see, they come up now. These things in the United States, or wherever they get them from, no, not but pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
You can call yourself there. There is plural. You're one person. But if you refuse to call a person there, if they want to be called there, you can be dismissed from your job and all kind of nonsense. And people are, the lobby is so strong that they're getting away with it. And even it defies common sense. If you want to call yourself there, that's your business. That's your old deluded mentality. You're mad as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But why should I then turn and call you there or them? When you're one person standing in front of me, they're plural. You're not plural.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you want to be gay or lesbian or whatever it is, you're one of them.
Yes.
And you refer to yourself as we.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only type people do that is royalty, where they use the royal we. You know, when the queen or the king speaks, they say we, because they're speaking now for as the monarch, and they're speaking for the country, so they say we. But they are not royalty, so they say we, and they call themselves there and them, and we, and people have been dismissed from schools and colleges because they refuse to comply with that nonsense. It is
Yeah.
taken a very serious hold on outside of Barbados, and we want to bring that nonsense here. Well, trust me, I am not going to call you there, Marcia. I will refer to
No.
you and your husband as there, but I will never call you or him there individually. So
Yeah. Well, as Joseph is saying, Cadogan is saying, right now in Canada, they're starting to look at raising funds to challenge these people in the court of law. And that is what we're going to have to do, because when you look at what the children did at Praise Academy, did for NIFCA, they were not discriminating about any against any group. They were not called any names. They were not spoken they were not spoken to in any way that was rude. They were just stating who they are and who God created them to be, and that they are not this and they're not that. They were refusing the titles, refusing to wear those titles. And well, those of you who want to support the children, here is on the marciaweekshow.com. You can you will see all that you can do. It says what can we do. So if you go on the page, you are going to see home. You see the message. Go to news update, and when you go to news update, you will see that particular page. You scroll down, and it says what can we do. And it says you can sign the petition. There is a petition that is there that you can sign. concerning the children. Listen, we've got so many things have happened to children in this country in the last 2 years, Mr. Franklin, and this is one of them. This is them on stage. Look, this is the children here. This is them on stage. This is our children, Barbadian children, and NCF decides, well, because you are not saying what we want you to say, we're going to disqualify you, right? 99 persons have signed already, and so if you have not signed, you can go on to the marciaweekshow.com and you can sign. They're petitioning the NCF to reverse the decision. And as by the way, this was not even, I'm not even sure who created this. I'm just promoting it. Honestly, I just saw it. Somebody was passing it around, and I said, okay. And I started to promote it, and it was placed on the website. I am not even sure exactly. I was asking somebody if they knew. They said they didn't know who did it. Okay. And then you can go on, and as I said, you can also see the the Zoom meeting that we had with Andrew Williams of Christian Concern and Christian Legal Center in the UK. Shirley Richards, who's an attorney as well from Jamaica, and Dr. Laura Haynes, who's a psychologist and expert on gender research in California. And they were all on Saturday on the Zoom, and you can listen to the program right there on the marciaweekshow.com, on the website, the marciaweekshow.com. You're to find everything that you need to find on there. You can even find there's, I think there's part of the scene that is there. The classroom scene is there as well. And there is a link, I think, to um, our website and all of that is there. So you can go on and get all the information that you need to get about this at the marciaweekshow.com. We just want to thank all those who work on the website and to get everything up, and thank God for them, because I don't know how to do any of this, and it's good to have a team. And I'm very, very, very grateful for the team that is working on this, for us. So go on and support, right? Yeah, go on and support, and send write the letters. Let people know what, let them know. You can write a letter of concern to the chairman of the board, Dr. Jasmine Bab, and also the NCF. You can send the emails to ncfboard.bb@gmail, and it's all there. You can call the NCF. What about just picking up the phone and calling the NCF? Call to speak to the director at the NCF. Alert other people about it. Talk to the people at your workplace about it. Talk to the people that you meet about it. Talk to people at your churches about it. Join with your organization, and you can execute a protest. You can decide how your organization will want to protest about this. You can share the press statement and your concern on social media, right? So you can, if you go on here, you will see the press statement. The press release is right here where my tab is on the same page, the marciaweekshow.com. Go to news update and you'll find the press release. Okay. You can even share the articles that are there, right? And send a letter to the newspaper. You can send a letter to the editor at BarbadosToday.bb, editorial at the nationnews.com. You can write about it. Okay. So all of these things you can do, and don't forget to watch the video that is there. Yeah. And I think it's important. And Mr. Franklin, somebody might say, well, why they talk about it every night. The reality is that we would be the only media source that will outlet that will speak about it. Nobody else, they're not going to be on it. You know, the nation wrote something, thank God. Barbados today has something, but they've moved on to other topics. But we can't, because this is too important, you know. Again, this is another situation, you know, where our children were, you know, treated in such a terrible way. I mean, when I met the children on Sunday, we took them out for ice cream and so on. Some of them were so afraid. I remember one mother said to me she's worried that if they do it again, will people stone them? In Barbados, some of the children are afraid, Mr. Franklin.
I'm not surprised. I am not surprised at all, you know, but I will speak to the area talking about why do we have to speak to all the time. It is topical, it is important, and we cannot allow it to die. Well, only today I got a number of calls asking me to continue about my employment rights thing. I talked about it already. I talked about it twice. You know, and people, because it is topical, it is important, it is interesting, and people want to know. That is why we have to talk about it. Now, if people feel like these are just these little soundbite things that will go away, and they want to think, no, this one cannot be allowed. This is too fundamental to who we are, not the slogan that the government uses these days. Barbados existed long before the Barbados Labour Party and their nonsense, and we must maintain our standards. And we got to keep it out there in the forefront, because if you just stop doing that, it will go a begging, and people will forget that it happened, and they will do it to somebody else. We cannot allow this to happen to another set of children.
Correct. And as Trevor is saying, if the play supported multiple genders, we would not be here. That is so correct. They do not mind discriminating against two gender believing people. That's the thing about it. If it was about multiple genders, we would not have a problem today. We would not have a problem today, you know. So yeah, and Kamar is saying keep talking about all these important topics and issues. You know, it is important. This is important. Yeah. So go ahead on the marciaweekshow.com and talk about it. This is going to be one of the areas, Mr. Franklin, that I'm proposing that we have some people looking at this section, religious discrimination, censorship, freedom of expression, when we meet on Saturday, because Saturday is going to be very important, you know, Mr. Franklin, as we are meeting in a non-partisan way to devise strategy for the nation. And so this is, I'm proposing that this be a section that we, you know, we have those that are interested in this area to meet and have that discussion, you know.
We must, because our constitution, the one that we currently operate under, guarantees freedom of religion, and it guarantees you the right to speak your mind, freedom of expression, unless you are defaming people or something like that. You're not defaming anybody. Who was defamed when you said there were two genders?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
You know, who? I bet if an answer, you know. I would like to know who got defamed when we said there were two genders. Certainly not me. Because that is the view of most right-thinking people, all right-thinking people in this country. And those right-thinking people I'm talking about must stand up and say something. They must come out, or Barbados will not be ours. You'll be walking around here with people doing nonsense. You see them on the streets in the States, going to markets and behaving stupidly because they want to be noticed. And somebody is creeping in here, and we cannot accept that. As a matter of fact, if to show you, if you turned up in the public service, but this just like that, you could be dismissed. It is still an offense, and under the 2007 regulations, so 2007 Act, they know it is wrong. They know it is
Mm-hmm.
contrary to everything that we hold dear. But we are not looking for people's money. And
Yeah.
money, they said the love of money is the root of all evil.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody
Mm-hmm.
said, well, he ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna love it, he gonna like it a lot. But these people like it too much.
Yeah. You see?
Live within your
Yeah.
means. We must live, Barbados must live within our means. And if we can't live, if we want to live beyond our means, this is what we have to subject ourselves to, because we're taking people's
Mm-hmm.
money. And when you're taking people's money, you got to do what they tell you.
Yeah.
Even if it means changing our culture, changing our lifestyles, acknowledging that if they tell you that the world is flat, you got to go along with that too. Remember, that was once accepted. Mind you, there's still some people who say that. Can't prove it, but we know what the truth is. And we can't allow any
Yeah.
government or any politician, any prime minister, anybody to change our views because they're looking for upward mobility.
Yeah.
I
But
don't know. I don't know if it's upward. I don't know if it is upward, but it might be decadent mobility.
yeah. Right. They think it's upward, but Mr. Joseph Cadogan is saying that's why I say it again. We have to take legal action, and I'm seriously looking into, especially when it comes to children. It's close to my heart. I will talk to a couple of lawyers outside of Barbados. Well, we need whatever all help that we can get, because here it is again, or it is against our children. Those children,
Uh,
we still are going to, we're going to meet with them again Saturday afternoon, Mr. Franklin, to talk with them again, talking to the parents, trying to get them to come back out. Some are just plain scared, and they don't realize what they have done. They have confused those children. Is what they have done. But I know we have
so,
other things to talk about.
now, let me, before you finish, I want to say one last thing.
Yes, sir.
I'm a person who believes in putting your money where your mouth is. If you take this matter to court, I will put my money where my mouth is. Rest assured that I'll be the first body to throw some money into the lane. Because I will I can't avoid this thing. I can't live with Barbados decaying like this and say and do nothing. And if I got a few dollars that can help, it will help.
Yeah. Well, thanks for saying that, Caswell. And I think that is what Joseph is trying to say as well. Because these kinds of things, I know sometimes the way we look at things sometimes, we think, it's a praise academy issue. It has to do with our institution. It's an institution issue, and not seeing that if you don't take care of something like this, it's going to set a precedence. We have to understand that, and if we do something, it will also set a precedent that as people, we're saying we are not going to sit by and let this happen. And I think that that is important. So I thank you for saying that, and I'm hoping that there will be others, that will, who will step up and will say, listen, we are going to protect the rights of these of people, in Barbados and the region, to be able to say what it is that freedom of expression, freedom of speech, that is important, and we're not going to let anybody cause us to stop saying what is on our mind and what we want to say. But we're going to move on. We're going to move on from that. And remember, anything else, you can always go to the marciaweekshow.com, to get that information, and we'll continue to bring you information and an update on what's happening with that situation. Well, Mr. Franklin, we have Kimar Stewart here. Hi, Kimar. Good evening.
Hi, good night, Kimar. It's good to see you. Get him help.
I'm not seeing him. I'm not. He's not. I'm not. The mic is still locked. I hope his Wi-Fi is doing good tonight, because I want him to talk with us tonight. Because Mr. Franklin, I saw some videos going around yesterday of the water in St. Lucie. And trust me, the water in St. Lucie, the man's water, I'm sure, was was almost my complexion. Seriously, it was probably about the hair complexion, about the hair color. Probably a little lighter than me. That was what was in the man's glass, drinking glass. He had a drinking glass, and last night I was teaching a class, and I said it was on Zoom, and I said to the student from St. Lucie, and I said, I saw this video going around with this man with the water, and the water was so dirty in the glass. Is it true? She said, ma'am, hang on there and let me. I'm coming back. And she went to her tap and caught the water and came back with it very, very much like the man. You could see the dirt and the color. It was brown. And I said, it's for real. She said, yes, ma'am. I just went and caught the water at the tap.
When you told me that today, it was on my mind a lot, and I was thinking, I was driving, come home, and it was still on my mind, and I said, something, I want to mention it on the show tonight, because they can't get that thing out of the water, but I think how they can get stool. They can't get this water clear up enough with the dirt and rust and whatever else they got inside there. But they think if they can't get out that, they can get stool.
We must trust them. We must trust them that they are going to be able to do that. And we're talking about both governments, because from speaking to people about it, it's something that's running under both governments. And the other thing that was interesting, and is that I asked her. So I said to her, "But so what do you drink? Do you drink water from the tap?" She said, "No, ma'am. In St. Lucie, we don't drink water from the tap." I said, "What you telling me?" She said, "No, we buy bottled water." I had no idea that there were people in Barbados, Mr. Franklin, who were buying water because they had to. I know people make a choice and say, "I don't want to drink the water," but I didn't know that there were people in Barbados who had to buy bottled water.
But we don't know, and that's what I'm telling you. We can't trust them to provide pure water with the sediment or whatever else they got in it, because some of this sediment is red. I've seen red water. I've seen other. No, I'm not very good at colors. No, I just know the basic colors: the green, red, orange, that kind of stuff. And I've seen water with most of those colors coming up from people showing it to me. And we want to trust these people now to get equally that you can't see out of the water. I am sorry. Leave our water alone. And sort out the one in St. Lucie.
And someone is saying that people who are in St. Lucie and St. Joseph and St. John, I'm hearing that is the norm. That is the norm. And we are, and yet still they're saying that that they want to, that basically what they're saying is that they are going to get this water, what they call it, third, I'm trying to find it, remember the term that they use, third something treatment of the water.
Tertiary treatment
of the water. And look at the St. Lucie water. Look at anybody from St. Lucie watching. I would love to know, what is your how much does it cost you per month? How much does it cost you per month to buy bottled water? If you were, because I'm trying to figure if I were to be buying bottled water, how much that would cost, right? Anybody on here from St. Lucie care to tell us? Say, Mr. Franklin, say you had a family of just mother, father, and two children, a family of 4. to buy bottled water. Can anybody give us an estimate of how much that is to buy bottled water for a month? Drink and to make your juice.
I don't have a clue. I drink a lot of water, and I couldn't drink that. You know, I'll tell you something. These people still get water bills. I will go take them to the Fair Trading Commission. I will go take them to the Fair Trading Commission because you are giving me a product. I buy a product from you and you're not producing that product and then charging me for it. I will go find somewhere to take you before the commission because this is not what you bargained for. This is not what you paid your money to get. Unless you had gone into a store and they give you something that was not suitable and they don't take it back, you could take them before the Fair Trading Commission. And I suspect that something like this should happen now. Go to and the thing is, we have a person called a public counsel, Office of Public Counsel, who should be representing Barbadians free of cost. So when the people from St. Lucie get this type of water and then still get a water bill, they should be going to the Office of Public Counsel and saying, look, this is what we are getting. And if the Office of Public Counsel, I don't know what Fair Trading Commission, they say cannot be fair. Mind you, the government don't ever forget. I would never forget Abrams telling the people in St. John that they might have a leak when they weren't getting any water and were still getting bills. Remember that? He told them that they probably got a leak. That's why the water bills were so high. And the people weren't getting water. And we got some parts of St. Thomas that don't get water either, but at least and it don't come up looking like anything looking like this, or the one I see fella turn on the tap and show it on WhatsApp showing what they get. I can feel that to my animals.
Can you imagine? And somebody here is saying that people are paying. You're paying the tax, the sewage tax, but you're buying filter. I know a lot of people, that can afford it. They buy a water filter at their home. They are buying bottled water. They're buying rainwater. But then as you're saying, they are still paying that. It would be great if somebody on here, I don't know if. Let me see if this person who made it, Ramim or somebody could, let's do a breakdown, Mr. Franklin, of what it would cost a family of 4 to buy this water. At the same time, they're paying the taxes just to, to kind of put it down and on a spreadsheet. Anybody out there want to take up that challenge? And let's lay it out for people to see. This is what is going on, but then you're paying all of this money per year or per month, and it's doing nothing for you. What are you paying it for?
But another thing that puzzled me though, I hear people talking about drinking water, buying drinking water, but you gotta buy cooking water too and tea water too, because look, you cannot cook this nonsense.
You gonna cook with that? That's what I was saying. I was thinking last night.
There's brown rice and white rice. You'll always get brown rice.
Let's check if Kimar is. Kimar, are you there? Can we hear you?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah, good night, Kimar. We weren't getting you just now. So I'm glad to hear you now.
Hey, I'm glad to hear you too. So,
yeah. I'm sure you hear the discussion. What we're talking about, how families are being taxed 2 and 3 times in a sense because they're paying the sewage tax, and then they're buying filters, for their homes, and then they are buying bottled water, and some are even trying to catch rainwater. We're doing so much. But look on my screen. This is how the girl's glass of water was almost like that last night from St. Lucie.
Well, St. Lucie's been having this bottled water issue for quite some time, but it is not as popular, or the government
Mm-hmm.
don't speak about it already. Uh, but since 2019, when the government, when the water was going off all across Barbados already, in the countryside, St. George, St. John, St. Thomas, St. Philip, the water used to be off. 6 months, 6 months in a row, the
Mm-hmm.
pipe was off, and the government would have to put up those black Rhino tanks, those big tanks, for the people to come out. Like back in the old time days when we had to go and get water from the well or water from the truck. You
Mm-hmm.
see mothers, you see people coming up with buckets of water standing up next to the road, and that has been the lifestyle of many Barbadians living in the countryside. Hey,
Okay, Mark. Before you go for you said the old time days. I used to do that. Okay, it's not about the old time days. It was just
yeah, yeah. We when I grew up in St. George, um, close to Arcade World, Golden Ridge, and that community, uh, we had a standpipe down there. So most people in the neighborhood use the standpipe. So people would come up with their buckets, fill up on evenings, uh, and you would have water to wash your beers, wash your clothes. You would bathe at this standpipe, so regularly you would see like a long line of people sign up, waiting to bathe at this standpipe. And that was in the 90s. That was if I can remember when it was that. I'm born in '94, right? So the early, maybe I can remember because I can remember life from very young. So growing up in my first couple of years, my first couple of social years, seeing that, and I would think that by now that Barbados being a world class destination, they say that we would have evolved past that. But I feel like we are
Mm-hmm.
going, the whole world is going into the future, but Barbadians are going back into the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aided and abetted by governments. I say I ain't blaming no one body, but governments, because they starting to realize you can't just blame 30 people, because the public service, public servants, permanent secretaries, these people actually implement some of the foolish ideas that these ministers put forward,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I kind of put in the blame on others as well, educated people who know wrong is wrong, but still do wrong. We're still going to do wrong because it is financially lucrative for them to do so, or they had an opportunity to sell out and they took it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because don't get it twisted. A lot of Barbadians are in debt, high levels of debt, mortgage. Um, a lot of people still owe courts for the furnitures. They're in debt with their
Mm-hmm.
cars. Um, People barely making it, and some people are drowning. So
Mm-hmm.
you have the government recognizing that and implementing policies to push more people down the poverty line so that they can have more control, a free and independent mind, sitting on financial resources, access to land, proper education. That person is very hard to control, or should be very hard to control.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're living in a state of mind of poverty and desperation, you sell out for peanuts
Yeah.
because you're hungry. You're thinking about your family. You're thinking about your bills. So it's very easy for the government or billionaires or people with money to come in and take advantage, right? And we see that where you have females who have children and men with money who can provide financial resources. You have mothers pimping out the daughters for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
These things happen. So think about that on a large scale now. The country, the leaders of the country, they understand poverty and particularly the BLP understands poverty more so than the DLP, and they're partner to that. They're partner to those people, right? Because they know the desperation. So taking somebody and again a broad example now. Taking somebody like Sean Mwanza immigrating from wherever he came from, right? Bringing him to Barbados, he's living here. He's getting $30,000 a month. He's getting all these perks. He ain't getting $30,000 a month from where he's from, right? So that automatic upgrading list will cause him to toe a line, a very serious line, a very
Mhm.
dangerous line. That he would come and say that drinking sewage water is safe because $30,000 a
Right.
month would encourage you to say that, right? So that's the
Yeah.
situation we're in,
Yeah.
right?
But I'm waiting to see if there was anybody here um from St. Lucie who can say how much money they spend on drinking water, say for a family of four, whatever the size is of your family. You know, I didn't see anybody put up anything as yet. Actually, while I'm here, I'm going to send a message to my student to find out so we can get some um, some information on that. And as Caswell, the point Caswell is making, Dokima, is if we can't up to yesterday, people were getting brown water from their tap. Why should we believe and trust that they're going to be able to treat the sewage water to a state where it would be safe to drink? You see, and that is where it puts a lot of doubts in people's minds. I know that there are countries like Singapore that they do drink that kind of water, but they go through a lot of rigorous testing and treatment and so on. Are we going to be committed to that? Are we going to have the facility to do that? And are we going to take it as seriously as they do? With when we look and when we see what is happening there in St. Lucie and St. John, and I'm seeing St. Joseph. Somebody said that it looks like a glass of cold Morby, right? Is what it, because I couldn't believe when I saw it. I had to ask my student to be sure, and she went right there live and in color and came back with the water. Kimar.
Well, this is the same thing I asked David Ellis on the program. If the government cannot get the water that we have now managed, that don't have any sewage, that's coming up black, green, all type of colors. I told him that on the program. How do you expect us to believe or have the confidence that the government have the resources, the technical capacity to manage that? And that person, Ronald Chapman, he jumped in speaking about yes, the government has the technical capability. I don't believe that, and we're seeing practical evidence that as a little bit of rainfall or as some slight thing happens, look at the color of the water already. So imagine now when you start to mix sewage with it, right? You
Yeah,
got sewage
yeah,
coming out of the pipes. You have deaths happening in the country because you'll be poisoning people. So Barbados does not have the capacity to manage any tertiary level sewage plant because they can't even get the sewage, the water network that we have right now managed. You can't even get all the mains replaced properly. You can't get the pipes repaired properly, right? All of the reservoirs, the Bournemouth pumping station, you can't get it functioning properly. So I would encourage them to abandon this tertiary level plant and to fix the issues and fix the water wars that we have right now because it is on disaster proportions that you have people having to buy bottled water. On top of you still have to pay that water bill, you know. So because you have to pay, more Barbadians now will have to live like how the people in St. Lucie live when you start to mix the sewage in it. Right? And
Yeah.
I yes, I don't see that being financially viable for many Barbadians to have to buy bottled water every week or month or whatever. So I think the government is really off on this one.
Well, somebody here says that they have had to be buying water to drink and still paying water bills, and I agree with Caswell that they really need to what you say, to go to the Fair Trading Commission
Fair
about it.
Trading
I guess
Commission.
if
You're not
enough
getting what you
people.
paid for.
Mm.
You're
But the
not
thing
getting
is,
what you paid
will
for.
Bajans do it? Will Bajans do that?
Well, somebody has to, or you will get all the illnesses that come about from drinking this type of water, all the illnesses that you get from drinking sewage. You will get all of those, and some of them are not treatable because you don't know what they are. People come in with a lot of illnesses, and the doctors treat you, make you comfortable, but they can't tell you exactly what caused it or exactly what it is. And we're getting a lot of that now too. And that comes from the nonsense that we eat and drink. And government proposes to kill off more of us.
Well, I think the concern really, I mean, in all fairness, it makes you wonder if they're going to be able, or that we are going to, as a country, if we can't even right as it stands at the moment, there are at least 3 parishes that are getting brown water. I could understand why someone would say, well, I am concerned whether or not we're going to be, of that level of treatment. If we're going to be able to do that and be committed to it, it causes some amount of distrust.
They're
And as we,
discriminating. They're
mhm.
discriminating against those people. They're giving other people clean water, and those people getting brown water all the time. That's discrimination too. So we gotta do something about that. The people have to fight it.
Yeah, these water going to the cruise ships normally brown,
No?
right? The water being sold to international people normally brown. When you have airplanes and all these things using Barbados as their gas station, the water is not brown, right? And what I suspect will happen next is that the government will start mixing sewage from the ships. The government will start taking the sewage from the ships that come here and using it, right? When the airplanes and everything come here, they're going to encourage the airplanes to dump their sewage here, and the government is going to use that in their process, right? So I don't think you would ever see brown water going to certain communities in Barbados. Never, like never, never, never.
Well, this
So
person, Faye Hurley, is saying that their pipe water was brown since 2019. Faye, can you tell us? And it's not getting any better. Faye, where are you? Where are you located? Where do you live? Which parish? If we would love to know. And Donna Hines is saying, and if they stop paying the water bill, what is going to happen if they stop paying the water bill? Because I mean, at the moment they're using the water to, I guess, to water the garden and to wash their cars and to, but oh boy, to even for it to be that brown and you're bathing in it, it's not even safe either.
I don't
well,
know
if you
about
stop
this.
paying the bill, if you stop paying the bill, they're gonna still charge you. I had a property there. It was not any property for at some uncle years, not using any sewage. I mean, everyone even this property was not even connected to a toilet. You just had a pipe, right? And you had to still be paying garbage and sewage tax for just a pipe connection, right? So they're still sending the bill every month. They're still charging your garbage and sewage tax every month. I know water authority is running down people. whoever owes them money, running you down to help, sending the debt collectors at your door, all type of stuff, uh, to get their so-called money. The
Yeah.
problem with that, and they said it, and they will say all the time, how can you put a tax on people's water bills, and the tax being more than the actual bill itself? And they're not even connected to the sewage. They're not even once you have a pipe connection, you got to pay a garbage and sewage tax. That is wrong. That is wicked. Right?
A tax, a
95%
tax.
of this country is not connected to any sewage plant.
You see,
Sorry, go ahead,
again,
Kevin.
I don't know, government calls things, but it's different. They're not going to do it like them. It is not a tax. It is stealing, because the water authority is not a tax collector. But they didn't want the money showing up in the treasury because they got trouble to get it out. You got to go through a process. They want to be able to steal that money and nobody, because when money goes into the treasury, the Minister of Finance has to issue a warrant to the Accountant General to pay out. And there's a trail. But when you have money at the water authority collected, and the water authority is supposed to give some to sanitation to keep some, and the water authority keep all, and nobody knows how much they get because they have not told us to this day, except on the program. When I heard that program with Kima and Maskell, I know they said that Maskell gave wrong information. I doubt very much that was the case. But where is the transparency? It is stealing. It is corruption. You cannot expect the people of Barbados to just continue to live like this and then decide, okay, well, politicians know best. We know they don't know best, and we know what they're doing is wrong. They know what they're doing is wrong, and they keep on doing it because the business will not stand up. Imagine you have a situation, Kimar alluded to it just now, where people have the minimum bill is $32, like some hotels in Barbados were paying. The minimum bill is $32. And you're going to put a tax of $45. I have never seen anything like that before. You pay a tax as a percentage, a small percent, not over 100% of what you the value of the good. You pay a tax, like VAT is 17.5. Everybody else is something completely different. And no, you're paying more. So there are a lot of people in Barbados who not connected to the system. As a matter of fact, the water, they have a pipe in the yard and even connected to their homes. They have to come out in the yard and do everything. And they are paying a sewage tax, garbage and sewage tax. Now, if you do not pay, and you go to the water authority, now they say, we're going to make arrangements to pay us, and they say, because they tell my water, they take out the tax first. So you still owe water. They don't say, well, you owe us $500, so we're going to divide that we're going to pay $300. We're going to divide that amongst the garbage and sewage tax and what. No, they take the tax first, and then you still owe water. So then they continue raising your water bill, and then they turn off your water.
Yeah, that's theft, Caswell. That's theft. That's called theft. That you pay if you're paying for water, you're not paying for a tax. So if I pay my money on the water, I'm paying for uses of water. So you should pay for my water first and then give the government the money after. Not that I gotta pay a tax first and then they owe for water. Go ahead, Caswell.
But but that is what they're doing, and the unfair people. And let me tell you something. See, this government has redefined the way we do business in Barbados in terms of taxing and what we use our taxes for. Traditionally, taxes were used for water, roads, health, including sanitation. Those are our taxes were used for the things that the community will provide for you. Now they're taking our taxes and doing all kinds of things, and then asking you to pay again, because the taxes were structured in such a way that you pay for health, but now you pay a health levy. So you're paying for health twice. And you're paying for health twice and not getting any good service at the QEH. You're paying for water and sanitation, and then they put the garbage tax and storage tax on you, and you're paying for garbage trucks twice, because that is what our money was supposed to be, what we were paying taxes
Well
for
paying VAT.
initially.
Well paying VAT at every level. Don't forget VAT. Do not forget the VAT.
I'm glad you said that, because that's just struck on my mind. You remember when the VAT was introduced, they got rid of a whole host of taxes and said, well, look, VAT will cover us. We don't need all these taxes anymore. We're going to get rid of all these taxes and use one tax. Now the taxes are creeping back in addition to VAT. This government has an insatiable appetite for money, and they are not. And I don't mind if you had a lot of things to do, and we were seeing what our money was being spent on. We are not seeing what our money is being spent on. And that is our biggest problem in Barbados. No transparency. The government lies to you. They go to the house, they give bogus estimates, and then come back when the body are looking and do a supplementary, so people don't really realize that the government spend as much money as they are really spending. And then the final appropriation bill, where the government do a final thing, but they actually total all those estimates. Nobody don't hear about that. It's just passed very quietly in the house. So Barbadians have to keep their eyes open and see that they are being mistreated, they're being robbed, and they're being robbed by government. But they probably like it so, because I'm speaking up.
Well, it's 9/11 and 9/11, no, 9/12. Well, it's 9/11 911 in Barbados. It's 911 emergency. But we are going to we're going to be talking about these schools of excellence, and about what Ramona Archer Bradshaw was saying. I don't know what she was saying. I tried to listen to it a couple of times, and I am still confused. And I see Miss McLean in the green room getting ready to come on to talk about this. These, I guess, I don't know if she probably understands what she's saying, but I want to play that clip, and and she's going to share some things, and then we can jump in. But I wanted to say, Kimar, do you have anything else to say about water before we move on?
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's unfortunate that what we have now happening in terms of this muck coming out of people's pipes, and then we still gotta go and pay for it. So you're actually paying for a service that you do not get, and this is the carelessness of the officials, that you can't even provide a rebate or a reduction or something for the people whose water is coming out, bro. Because if you do any investigations, you will realize that the government probably did something that they were not supposed to do, which caused the destruction and the contamination of the waterways. So I feel this is an issue that's much deeper than just rainfall, or issue that's much deeper than just flooding, right? So we need to actually investigate where the water is that color. And if I could guarantee you, it has something to do with the government giving permission to some conglomerate or somebody to build on somewhere that they were not supposed to build on, or to dig trenches, or to dig something that they were not supposed to dig, and destroy the waterways, causing this mud to be coming in. I could bet you top dollar.
Well, that's something that we can, when we meet on Saturday, that we can, and those that are looking at water, Mr. Franklin might be able to try to see where they can get information and begin to really dig in and do some research on it. But we're going to have to.
Before you move, just quickly.
We're going to switch here. Yeah.
But before you switch quickly, I was told, I don't know how factual it is, but I was told by a resident of St. Peter that the reason for the destruction of the water in St. Lucie is poor that port 49 or so, or port
Port
whichever port is
Ferdinand?
closer to, yes, or whichever port is
Mm-hmm.
closer to the St. Lucie, either Port St. Charles or Port 49. No, which one? But the port that's built down there, the engineers on the project actually destroyed. Uh, they actually destroy or dig or they dug holes under the seabed,
So
right?
that's the allegation. That's what people are alleging that happened. You're saying?
Yes. So some of the people who live nearby, some of the residents who live
Mm-hmm.
nearby, said that
Mm-hmm.
where that port was built, they were not supposed to build there. But
Right.
the
Ah. Okay.
MP
So
for the area, which was the prime minister at the time, or an offer, he allowed it, and they dug some type of holes or the other, and these holes are actually allowing the contamination of the waterways. So what they did and what they were doing, according to the resident, they were trying to fill or block the holes, but the contamination already happened. So they had to go underwater and get this type of cement that hardens in water to try to stop the hole and to stop the contamination. But it didn't work because the contamination already happened. And that is the reason why the people in St. Lucie continue to get brown water. And that's according to the
mm,
residents. But I need to do my own
according to the
investigations to
residents,
find
yeah.
out exactly what's happened. And probably we could try to get them on the show at some point in time to
Yeah.
explain that to us. Yes.
We probably need to take a trip down there and to talk to the residents, because a lot of times, they have a sense of what is happening, and to really get to the bottom of this, because I just can't believe that they should be paying water bill and paying taxes and buying water, and at the same time getting water filters, and I mean, it's just ridiculous. But we're gonna come back to this on Friday. Don't worry, I see the the chat is going. Don't worry, we're gonna come back on this on Friday. But there are just so many things going on. Let me just play this, and let's listen to it one more
Mar-
time for those of you who
Marcia,
yes,
you said that
yes.
you don't understand. Don't feel badly. Ramona Archer Bradshaw doesn't understand what she's saying either.
Well, all right, let's listen. Let's listen. Let's see.
We have first formers. They will have a year of the standard education, the traditional education. If they would have moved to second form, they will continue with the traditional mode of education. We are proposing that from 2025, those to be third formers will either remain to another school. Let me explain to you the basis of the transition. As part of the proposal, we said we would like to see a two-tier structure where there is a junior college of excellence and a senior college of excellence. Schools will be assigned as junior colleges of excellence and others senior colleges of excellence. If the child is at a school that will remain, let's say, a junior college of excellence, and that child is supposed to go into third form, that child will continue at that school. However, if the child is at a school that we designate as a senior college of excellence, then that child will have to transition out of that school into a junior college of excellence. We are proposing that happens based on the primary school. Remember we spoke about the catchment school and the primary school feeder system. So let me give an example. If let's use Charles F. Broome. So let's say the child is at Queen's College, but went to school at Charles F. Broome, and the Springer Memorial School is now a junior college of excellence. It means that that child will continue in the third form at the Springer Memorial School because it's a junior college of excellence. But if the Springer Memorial School is a senior college of excellence, then what would have to happen is that the child will have to transition to the junior college of excellence that is close to the Charles F. Broome that they went to school at. You see what I'm saying?
Very well.
So that is the breakdown of how we are.
Well,
It is as
the
clear as
person
mud.
said, that's listening said very well. They understood it. It's as clear as mud. Probably, you know, and the other thing is that probably she was saying things that we probably caught it in the middle. Probably, I don't know. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. At one point, I was following her, and then it kind of, I'm like, what? I kind of lost her. This is I think my third time listening to, and I'm trying to write notes and to see, because that helped me sometimes to understand. Well, let's welcome Miss McLean. Good night. Your mic is muted.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening,
Good
Maxine.
evening. How are you doing?
I am fine. I was listening to that. In fact, let me try to tackle that, because as you correctly said, is an extract from probably a bigger speech, but we would have to figure out what exactly they were saying there. So in looking at what she said, let me start out. The first year, first of all, what's the traditional education versus non-traditional? Because you're talking about students who did the common entrance this year and started secondary school. So they did the common entrance. So all of these people who are going to be affected in the first, what I would call the first cohort into this junior college or whatever of excellence, would have done the common entrance. Now, and she mentioned feeder schools. Now I have a challenge right there, because she used Charles F. Broome, and the reason why I reacted to that, I had two nephews who went to Charles F. Broome, but they did not live anywhere near Charles F. Broome. They happened to go there because of where their mother worked, literally across the street from the school, and that's how she got it. So you would find students going to that school. So that whole notion of transferring feeder schools do not necessarily, at least primary schools right now, do not necessarily reflect where people live. So if you're talking about having the schools, the students transfer to schools in their neighborhoods, then that logic does not follow at this point in time, because you would have to find a way to eliminate persons sending their children to schools based perhaps on the convenience of going to a school near where a parent lives or near where a relative lives who can take care of that child. So in essence, I went to St. Stephen's School as a child. I walked to school, but I may have a sister-in-law living in St. Lucie and working in St. Michael, and therefore, and the parents, working in St. Michael, and therefore it was convenient for them, rather than to drop a child off to school in St. Lucie and not have a means of getting that child home. So first of all, they would have to tell us what it is they're talking about. The other question I have, even in transfers, because as I said, I am not sure, and I've been trying to go through all the documentation I can find on this school. What are all the junior colleges of excellence offering the same curriculum? I'm trying to go back to, because I'm hearing so many different things from the chief education officer. First of all, She said at some point in time that, well, she said this is a proposal, and I guess she's emphasizing that. She said that this was some time ago. I heard her say, and I will try to find the quotation, that this was not starting in 2025. Now they're telling you it is starting in 2025. And you know, if a child is supposed to go to third form, they will remain. What is it? If a child is at a junior college and is supposed to go, if that school is one. So my question is, how many of the secondary schools right now will be junior colleges, and how many will be senior colleges? Of the junior colleges of excellence that they're talking about, what will be the curriculum of each of those schools? Is there going to be a fairly standard curriculum, or is it going to vary? A third former is what? About 11, 12, 13, about 13 to 14 years old? At 14 years old, you know, are you pushing a child in a particular direction? Because my concern, you see, my concern is what are you doing? Because they talk about, and I'm going to go back to speak to some other things because to try to make sense of this nonsense. And in fact, one of the things that I said to myself as I listened before, and I will say it now, as I listen to her again, to explain is to expose. And in this case, they are exposing what I call the failure to think this thing through properly. Because she herself does not, I mean, I would repeat what you said, Marcia. What she said, what we heard is an excerpt from a longer speech. But basically, just listening to how the transfer works, there are a number of questions that I have. I have been trying to find a document which sets out in detail what are the, I mean, because if you're talking about a transition that starts next year, 2024 is the beginning of the beginning of next academic year. 2024 is September. That's the beginning. That's when a child is in second form. And I presume that if you're going to be making some shifts, parents should be thinking about these things. Are you shifting? You know, it really boggles the mind. But, you know, it makes me ask some basic questions. Where did this idea come from? Is this an idea that, I mean, because you're hearing of reform. I went back to a document, Marcia, and it talked about this reform. And I recommend people go and read this thing that happened last year, because remember last year, there was some consultation and there was a 3 or 4 page document. That's all I can call it, because there was not much text to it. There were some charts and whatever, graphs and whatever, and they had some consultation. Now there's something called the Transforming Education Summit 2022 Barbados Consultation Report. Okay, so I said, let me use that as a starting point to understand what she's saying. Now, when I looked at that and I asked myself, the first paragraph of that speaks to what I consider, what they identified as a number of issues informing the education reform agenda. And I wrote them down exactly, you know, as they had them listed in the order. They said there was an issue of persistent underperformance. Now, I don't know underperformance in what, where, or how. In other words, are you talking about underperformance at the nursery school level, the primary school level, the secondary school level? Are they underperforming in particular subjects? Are they, you know, so they tell you that, but they can't say, go and find an analysis of this written somewhere. They talk about student disengagement and indiscipline. And then they say programming out of sync with the needs of the economy. What does that mean? Weak leadership, I can understand when I listen to some of the people in the Ministry of Education, and then they talk about the issue of instructional quality, absence of standards and accountability, and an archaic regulatory framework. Now, they've listed all of those things. Presumably, they are saying because of these things, not supported, certainly in this report, nor not cross-referencing to any substantive analysis, reports, studies, empirical evidence, whatever. They are basing what they are telling us they want to do on this. Okay. Then they went on to apportion blame to what I call the Barbados, to what we call the common entrance. Okay. And they were arguing that students being transferred to secondary school were doing so without mastering the primary curriculum. Now, if you have a situation where for decades, because again, what is the proof? What are they not mastering? What percentage of the students are they talking about all? So if they are saying this, my question is, how do we address these particular problems? And how do you, with this new fandangle thing about what junior colleges of excellence and so on? Now, if you're talking about colleges of excellence, let me finish the point I was making. How do these things address the problems? And for me to be able to understand how they will address, you would have to tell me, when I create a school that is called a junior college of excellence, how does that differ from our secondary schools, curriculum-wise, instruction-wise, classroom size-wise, technology-wise? What are you doing differently that will improve the performance of our students, that will bring greater discipline to our children, that will better engage our students? So they talk about these things, but I think basically from listening to her, I want to make this other point that I picked up as I was reading that document again, which sent up a red flag for me. You were saying in this exploration of the let me look for the note because I wrote it down and I want to remember. They were saying that as they were, let me quote it from the report. I don't want to tell no lies on the people. They were saying that in relation to this, they were saying the pandemic, that they started this educational reform. But yes, here it goes. It says okay, wait, I don't want to read too much. I just want all of these issues. Okay, they were talking about the teachers' significant learning. Okay, these include the engagement of parents, whatever. And they were talking about the pandemic and the problems that arose. The inability for various reasons to reach students in the most disadvantaged households, etc., etc. All of these issues were already being addressed as part of the ongoing transformation of the system. And this is the point I want to make. When the United Nations Transforming Education Agenda was announced. Question: what is this United Nations Education Transforming Education Agenda, and how does it connect to what we want to do? When the United Nations speaks on issues, they are speaking across a membership of 190 something countries. And every one of us does not have the same, each country does not have the same educational situation. So my question is, what really is the agenda being pursued? Is it an internal agenda? I will not say to anybody that our system should remain as is. But what I do not understand is, why are you coming with this wholesale change in a system, but you are not in a position up to now to, first of all, say to us, what exactly are the problems that you're looking to address? And not in that very broad, generic statement, but show us the data. We talk about being data driven and making informed decisions. Show us exactly what it is that you're doing and how this thing is going to work. But when I read that, I'm saying we seem to be pursuing somebody else's agenda, even though we have issues in our system that have to be addressed. And the basic question is, all that we have been hearing from Mrs. What's her name? Archer Bradshaw, and hearing from the Minister of Education, not as much, and hearing from the Prime Minister, who spoke to this sometime last year when they were having this consultation in 2022, etc. Hearing all of them, Barbadians still are not the wiser what this thing is going to look like, how much disruption it really at the end of the day will cause, how it is going to affect the students, and what happens if there is gross failure. Now, this is not beyond possibility, because I can tell you that if you look at some of the systems, I remember having a conversation with somebody about some changes that were made in Jamaica. And the concern was that some of the changes were so radical that the impact was nowhere near what they wanted. In fact, they probably had a lot of negative follow. That I would need to get more information. I would also say this and pause for a minute and get a response from you. I recall talking to former schoolmates of mine who live in the UK some years ago, because we were talking about the educational system. And I was sharing with them a comment of a British woman who was talking to one of my former professors from graduate school who came here on holiday. And what this lady told him, she said, look, I was living here, I'm now divorced, but I'm not leaving because my child is, or my children are in school, and I want them to finish school in Barbados because of changes that had occurred in the UK. And I heard my friends in England say the same thing, that there were some changes made, and then they were looking to go back to some of the things that they did before. All in all, Marcia, my immediate reaction to this is that the explanations being offered are not demonstrative of a chief education officer or other education officials of the ministry who are comfortable, who are confident, who are clear in their thinking that what they are saying to Barbadians has been properly, these things have been properly thought out. They have been tested against educators. I mean, I would ask the question, can Mrs. Archer Bradshaw tell us whether they have consulted, who have been their consultants on this? Have they touched base with the School of Education at the KFL campus? Have they consulted with the people at Erdeston Training College? Have they sought the opinions before they even brought any of this to the public with persons who have a history of making significant contributions to our education system from the nursery to the tertiary level? Because all of these, I mean, have they consulted with employers? And I don't believe that an education is intended to pigeonhole somebody into going to a job. You're supposed to get a set of skills which will help you to adjust to the world of work that are futuristic, etc. But sometimes I listen to these people and I'm wondering if they're looking to prepare a set of people to push them into job streams. It really has not, the kind of change that they want to make, they have not thought it through. They have not sold Barbadians on the issues. And as far as I'm concerned, as a person, I can get selfish now. I've said it on this program before. There are 4 generations of McLeans living right now. Some just born, so I'm a great aunt, as I've said before. I worry about those little boys and girls who have to grow up in this country and go to school. Education for Barbados and CARICOM have been part of what has transformed these countries, these societies, and these economies. And when we go and tinker with it, it isn't something that you can hit a switch and step back and say, stick a pause and stick a pin and pause. It is a serious thing. And this is my take on it. And I beg him to show me otherwise. From all that I've seen and heard, these people are playing fast and loose with our children and our country. Because at the end of the day, if you have a set of youngsters who have not benefited from the best education possible, if you come up with a system that creates all kinds of inequalities and inequities, and probably and do the opposite of what they're supposed to do, we will suffer as a country. Barbados relies on its people. That's our basic, most critical resource. And so I listen to these people and I ask myself, what madness is this? Why the rush? If you are changing a system, you can't do it in the fashion that I'm hearing. Because up to now, in fact, I will end by saying this. I would like the and I start with the Prime Minister as the minister, the head of the government, the head of cabinet, as Minister of Finance, who going to approve funding on these things, as a former Minister of Education, and somebody who is championing this thing, because I sometimes wonder if this is something being given to the ministry and say to do it based on the contributions that I've heard the Prime Minister make on this subject before, whether this is something that she is enamored with and decides that it has to happen. She can tell us no, but I'm asking all of them, stop, document for Barbadians what problem, and I say this all the time, what problem or problems are you trying to solve? They've identified a set of issues, so we can start with them. Having identified those issues, how are you proposing to address them? Why is it that and somebody says a revolution doesn't necessarily have to mean that you overturn everything. If you are looking to solve issues, is this the only way to go? And are we doing all of this to be able to access funds for new schools? So, we've heard of new funding for new schools. Are we being used as an experiment? Tell us exactly what's happening and point us to the scientific evidence, the empirical evidence that you are seeking to solve these problems. The extent of the problems will be demonstrated by the empirical evidence, and show us how you really going to solve this thing. It is madness. I've said a mouthful and more.
Maxine, what you said at the end is exactly what is happening. You summarized it well. The first person I heard coming up with this rubbish is the Prime Minister. She is who set the agenda. I know the education officials are trying to fit in their training and everything else to fill in what the Prime Minister wants. The Prime Minister came up with this. This is hers. I heard her with it long before anybody, Minister of Education, said anything, because this is something that she probably heard somewhere and she wants to implement. First of all, she wants to leave a legacy. Mind you, she already has a legacy. She's destroying Barbados. So she and she wanted to take the Barbados legacy with independence and republic. So she got a legacy already. I know what you want. But this is her baby. And because she is so overpowering, that the officials in the Ministry of Education, and then she brought back in Mayor Denny as a consultant to do her bidding. Mayor Denny is the person who is driving this, right? And she's driving it based on the Prime Minister's agenda, what the Prime Minister wants to do. But you gotta, sometimes I say I don't listen to the Prime Minister, but sometimes I can't help but hear, right? You remember when we had all the grammar schools and then we had comprehensive schools, and we said no, we don't like that because we want all schools to be equal. You remember that?
Yes, well, I certainly do. I'm old enough.
Good. Me too. You say you're a great aunt, but I'm a really great uncle too, And and I worry about them. Me too. I have great nephews and nieces too. So I concerned about them, and they are going to destroy. So I that's why I am looking at this thing, and I'm trying to point out to people that you cannot listen to the Prime Minister because she is scatterbrained. She comes up with an idea, and then because of her bullying nature, she forces it down people's throat, and then people have to come up and try to fit into what she wants. Now let me go to say some things. One, she said at the Barbados Labour Party conference a couple of weeks ago that there are the same amount of teachers that they have now when she was Minister of Education back in the Oinaza administration. But now there are 15,000 less students in schools. Now, if you have 15,000 less students, why are you going to build 2 new schools? Because she said that, and then Colin, what's his name?
Jordan?
Cumberbatch. No, Cumberbatch. He is the principal of Erdeston School.
Oh, yes, that's right.
He repeated it. He repeated it in his anniversary service or whatever they call it the other day. All right. So unless he's misquoted her and the newspapers or whoever, the WhatsApp people misquoted her, she wants to build schools for people that we do not have. because we have 15,000 less, right? Now, if you have 15,000 less, and you want to build 2 new schools, one up there by the convent and one up by Shellstone Park, that can cause a whole kind of mass confusion already. One of the nice things about the convent closing is that you'll be able to get to work easier by the morning. That place used to be bedlam. And you would know because you used to work in that area and you know it was hard to approach from that direction. So she's going to
morning and afternoon.
Yeah, recreate that problem all over because she is not thinking. She is not a thinking person. She just comes up with these things and expect to force them down people's throat. The point you made about planning it. This is not a long-term plan. They are doing this in the short term because 2025 is short term. You want to do transformational changes to our educational system, and you won't do it in a hurry. But you see, there's nobody can tell the Prime Minister, hold up, this is not this should go on that kind of stuff because it is provided for in the legislation. But dare you do it? And even if Ramona Archer Bradshaw does not agree, she's on contract. So if she's on contract and she disagrees with the Prime Minister, her contract can get renewed. So that is why you cannot allow politicians to destroy the public service because the public service would have people in it who would say to a minister before because the most you could do with a permanent secretary or chief education officer at the time was the chief education officer. You can only transfer them to the chief education officer. If they don't agree, you can't do them anything. A permanent secretary, you can send to another ministry. But if you have them on contract, you send them back whence they came. And that is what is destroying the public service and letting politicians like Mayor Motley, who have training in no area, none, to come up with these harebrained schemes and impose them on the people of Barbados. Senior College of Excellence and Junior College of Excellence. We already had one of those called Combermere.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Let me get Kimar. Kimar, you have any thoughts on this, Kimar?
Yeah, I have some thoughts on it. First, I just want to tell Maxine, I enjoy her contribution, and she then opened the door for Caswell to segue into a point he made about Arrow and removing the legacy of Arrow. Free education was the legacy of Arrow, and this is free universal education. Primary, secondary, college, university, right up, right? Caswell made the point about we having different schools who are not equal, and the changes that the yesteryear DLP came up with counter that and reduce the social inequality in which we had in Barbados. Right? What the government is intended to do is to take us back to those times, right, where you would have to pay to go to a more socially accredited school, and where they could funnel around people from specific neighborhoods and specific districts into specific schools, right? And that will create further inequality in the country. It's the same thing that happens in the American system. If you don't have money, you go cook. You gotta go to state college and state schools, and the state education does not compare to what they call the Ivy League and the Ivy League schools, right? So what these changes are hinting at to me is basically like a pay-as-you-go system for schools, right? In Jamaica, you have to pay to go to secondary school and pay to access specific educational services from the government. The IMF program, right, says that the government has to cut budgets. During COVID, Avinash Prasad came out and said that the government ring-fence education and ring-fence health, which are two of the biggest budgets from the ministry and government, right? But that was only for COVID. But the education budget is now under the knife for the IMF. And that's why the reason we're getting all of this slicing and dicing as it relates to all of these changes, putting the teachers on contracts and trying to get schools to become more commercially viable to earn money to run themselves, right? So in parts of the states, you got school boards, and school boards are responsible for basically raising their own funds and managing their own affairs, and most of them are independent of central government financing. But that's not so in Barbados. Central government finances the education system, but part of the IMF strategy would be to reverse that universal paid education, much like how they're reversing universal paid healthcare into a pay as you go system, right? And in Barbados, you know the levels of poverty. So many people pass through Parsons College, Queen's College, Commerce, these quote unquote older schools that were from poor backgrounds that, if not for the common entrance, many of them wouldn't dream of entering into those schools.
I can tell you.
Marcia, let me give you an example. I'll personalize it. As you hear me all the time say, I am one of 11 children. My oldest brother was 20 years older than me. And he started school at the place that Caswell spoke about, the Upper North place. Caswell, you can smile for that. My oldest brother went to Combermere, but he didn't stay there long. You know why? My parents couldn't afford to pay the fees. All right? And that is an example. That's one. Come a little further down now, my 1, 2, 3, that would be my fifth brother. Did the exam. We used to call it the screening test back then. And he passed for Combermere. But there was an interview. And after the interview, because and I didn't even know this because we didn't discuss. I knew he went to St. Leonard's and he did very well in his chosen career and whatever else. But talking to a classmate of him who came home from Barbados some years ago, sadly the guy passed away earlier this year. But he told me, you know, your brother used to call him Mac. His name was Morris. It was real bright. That was the guy's description. And he was supposed to go to Combermere until they did the interview. And on the interview, they used to answer questions like where you live, where your parents do, and so on. And as a result, he ended up going to St. Leonard's. Fast forward now to the last set of us, where you did the common entrance, and we ended up leaving St. Stephen's. In my sister's case, she went to St. Michael's, then she went to Queen's College and Harrison College because she was doing sciences. So when she came to sixth form, she did that. I went to Queen's College. My brothers went to what the so-called older secondary schools. The point I'm making is that education for a lot of poor people was transformative. The people like to make out the case that this is damaging and all this. I want to put this on the table. And as Kimar said, they're looking to go backwards. I live near to Queen's College, where Queen's College is located now. In this neighborhood, you have, and I may not have my geography right, but I would say that's east of Queen's College and whatever else. You have, and south of it, you have neighborhoods like Prior Park, Crystal Heights, and so on. On the other side, you got what we call Thorpe's housing area and so on. If we start to send students to school assigned by what you call in their residential zones and so on, I would love to know who will get to go to Queen's College. Similarly, look at the neighborhoods around Harrison College and tell me where you think the children will probably end up coming from. To me, the issue with the 11 plus is less about the damage and so on, and it is about assisting those students. A lot of students are not ready to do the exam. A lot of students also need assistance. I have a late nephew who was dyslexic, and it was discovered while he was at St. Stephen's. If it were my time and Caswell's time, we probably might not have known it. You understand? Because there were tests that would have been done and so on, and the children would have gotten the assistance that they needed and so on. The Ministry of Education needs to understand what are the challenges that our children are facing. We should not have students leaving secondary school because education is compulsory to 16, who've gone through the common entrance, got assigned to a school, went through first form, second form, third form at secondary school, and then did not who ended up not being able to read and write. Well, if you go to Dodge Prison right now and check, and this is information that has been shared over the years by people who go into work with inmates, etc. A lot of the young men, because the vast majority of the population at Dodge are male, a lot of them cannot read or write well, if at all. And why is it that is the case? This was not known, this was not addressed, because it might have been known and it might have just been left to sit in the class. What we need to do is to find out what assistance students need, whether they are, and as I was saying in the chat today, whether they are, the high flyers, the very bright children who are very gifted, or the ones who are challenged. But don't tell me you're going to go and dismantle a school system and a method of transferring students. A lot of the pressure that comes with the common entry has nothing to do with the children's thinking of where they're going. It's the adults who keep harping on the difference. So they go and they do, the same subjects and whatever. My point is, unless you can show me, one, how you are seeking to remedy the shortcomings of what we already have in a way that is not going to cost a fortune and that is not going to run the risk of doing significant damage, then unless you can show me, then just try and fix the things. And as I say, if certain things are not broken, just fix the things that are broken and enhance what we have. But you're going to go on this grand experiment, which to all intents and purposes has not been well thought out, and which to my mind is heading down. If I'm going to use the example, a lot of what this administration has done is going to call for a reset, it's not something that we can pause and try to fix after doing the damage.
But Maxine, when they do this damage, every year we do 3,300 children every year in common entrance exam. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be destroying, when they find out, they would have destroyed 4 sets of those children. We can't afford to let this woman get her hands on these children and destroy them. The other point you made about people that in prison, it's not only in prison, it's in workforce. When people come to my office, right? They get to do so because they're in trouble. I like people to write out what happened to them, because sometimes when you go to a meeting and you argue, when the fellow get caught, so but I said so, I didn't tell you so. So rather than have that, I tell them, write out your story. Let me know what happened. I can use that as a basis to defending you or representing you. And some of them can't write it. Some of them cannot. They are in the workforce, and some of them cannot write it. I said, look, do bullet points. And they're going to start using bullet points because a fellow might come and shoot me. They don't understand. I just said, you don't have to write an essay, give me bullet points. And a lot of them cannot do so. So we need to fix that problem, because, as you said, we have the high flyers, and we have the other people, and they won't have all high flyers. They're going to have people who will not reach that standard, but at least they must have a minimum standard. And and what they're doing isn't catering to that. What they are catering for is to finding people to work in call centers, because that is what the government seems to be what they're pushing, to get people to work in these slave dens of what they call call centers in Barbados. Because I've actually been representing several people at these call centers, and they treat them like dirt. So you are educating people for call centers. You're educating entrepreneurs or people to sciences or whatever. You want people to sit down at some phone or on a computer now, and you type in this kind of stuff, type in warranties and that kind of, and then give them
not thinking for themselves.
And then
it's a minute to 10. Go ahead, finish, Caswell. It's a minute to 10.
What I'm saying is that then these people will always be like the agricultural laborers in the past. Very minimum wage, can't afford anything. Lucky for me, my parents, I'm not saying I beat you, I was one of 15. Um, my parents had land. So they didn't make a lot of money, but my father planted food on his land. And my mother planted food on her land. So we had food. But now people are living in these little cubicles that they built. If you go across by Debonair Orange Hill, you see these little houses and things like that. I've seen them with your veranda. And what are these people going to do? If you put them in those houses, they don't have land, they don't have education, they will always remain slaves to somebody. And this is what we are developing in Barbados.
Listen, this is a hot topic, and what we are going to do is on Saturday, Miss Rose Corbin, all goes well. You know, she did some excellent presentations on here, and I see people even passing around parts of it and so on. She was excellent. This is Mrs. Rose Corbin, and she is going to lead. She had volunteered Mr. Franklin to lead one of the sessions on Saturday morning, the strategy sessions around discussing around this particular issue. And I can tell people don't want to come off of this thing tonight, to end tonight, okay? But Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, we were trying to put the link in the chat. I think Mr. Seeley was trying to put it in for me, but there was a problem getting the link in this chat. It wouldn't allow him to put the Zoom link there. But if you check the Marcia Week Show Facebook page, you are going to see the link there, and we are going to put the link in the description section of the YouTube description for the next show, which is going to be on Friday. We're also going to put it on the website, the MarciaWeekShow.com on the website. If you go there, you will also find the Zoom link. Please share it around. Share it around. We're going to go into small groups right there on Zoom, and we're practicing for when we come together physically. All right. So so Saturday, but this is one of the areas for sure, because Mrs. Rose Corbin was the one that kind of like nudged us to go quickly to go and do these groups, and she volunteered to do education, and I know it's going to be awesome. So that is something that we, you know, those of you who this is an area that you want to, you know, dig in and to come up with some strategies and solutions, and to see how you can be, how can you communicate to the average person exactly what these proposals are, because they're not doing it. So we need to be able to communicate to people so they will be able to know exactly what is it that they're proposing. Bring it down to in layman's terms. Okay. Now I see someone, I'm just answering a few questions and then we close. I see someone is asking about Lynette Eastman, and who was so brilliant on the show. The last message that I got from Miss Eastman is that her schedule had changed. Remember, I had said that her schedule had changed, and I have not heard anything whether it's, you know, it's become more conducive to these sessions, because she teaches. I teach as well. This is why I don't come on for the full time on a Monday, because I have classes in the evenings. Okay. So that was the last message I heard from her, because people keep asking me, and I'm saying it, but I don't know if that person is hearing it at the time I'm saying it. But of course, you know, Miss Eastman, anytime her schedule frees up, she is welcome on the program. We love to hear her, and we're hoping her schedule will clear up so she can, you know, she can join us on the program. All right. So, folks, thank you all so much for joining. It's so much more. I mean, this program has been so interesting. I am sitting down here, I'm writing as you all are talking. And listen, I have probably about 3 more pages left in my book. I need to get a new book. but we will continue this
I
on
can get you
Friday.
on, Marcia.
Miss
No,
McLean, we need to have you back on Friday.
no, but this is what I do. I don't need the dates. I go and buy when the stores don't sell out all their old diaries, so they got some big 4-quad diaries. I use them as notebooks, and I buy them for $5 and things at the end of the year. So I bought a whole set now.
Well, I use my old diaries, but that's a good idea.
That's a good idea. Well, thank you all so very, very much. Thank you to our wonderful guests, Kimar Stewart, the big man in a little body. Don't kill me, Kimar, for saying that. But he doesn't, so unassuming, and always, I tell you, and I love how he takes risks and he steps out there. And they tear him up like how they tear up wolves, but he steps out there and says what's on his mind. And people can always come in and they say what they want to say. But Kimar, for a young man at 27 years old, the kind of risks that he's taking, I appreciate that. And he has a birthday coming up on December 7th. That, listen, I hope to be dressed and decked out to attend that event. I want to thank Miss McLean for coming on, always ready to come on and to go bat and fight for her nation. And she came on fiery tonight because education is one of those areas that is very, very important to her. I hope she'll join the education group on the Zoom call, so we can get down to the bottom of this and really begin to show Bajans what it is that they're proposing. Find a way to get it in bite size so Bajans understand. And of course, the General Mr. Franklin, who is not even 100%, but he finds himself on here. I thank his wife for allowing him to come on all these nights, and we continue to pray for you, sir, for your full recovery. And to the loyal opposition, I tell you, the 300 and a lot of you who come on, it went up to about 360 something tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. And I do hope that we can be in a Zoom setting where we're a little more intimate, and we can break out in the groups on Saturday. So we're going to put that information up for you. Okay. Thank you all so very much. Have a pleasant, pleasant night. God bless you. Love you all. God bless.
Take care. Have a
Bye-bye.
good night, everybody. Bye bye.
Good night. Bye bye.
Yeah,
Good
good
night.
night. Good night.